Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the New York Giants versus the New England Patriots. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 5 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for some Monday Night Football. Happy Monday, everyone. Studs at quarterback, Jackson Dart, and on the right, one of the most efficient young quarterbacks in the game, one of the MVP candidates, Drake May. Can't wait to be able to see these young guns go at it. Obviously, when you have a 10-2 team going against a 2-10 team, obviously we know that it's going to be a trap game, for the team that obviously has the better record. So just like we saw last night with the Broncos on the road against the Commanders, you had one team with a really good record, another team with a very bad record. But again, the crowd for Washington definitely willed them close to a victory. Obviously, it came down to the very, very end. But again, with all the injuries with Scadaboo and Neighbors and Kayvon Thibodeau, there is obviously a higher probability, since New England is at home and not on the road, that this could turn in, to a blowout. The Vegas line has the Patriots winners by 7, but hopefully it ends up being a little bit more competitive than people think. And if we end up getting, a victory decided, hopefully it's in the fourth quarter and the first 3 quarters are pretty competitive. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day, and I'm ready to get settled in for some Monday Night Football. Daniel in the building, what's good? Marine Bean in the building, what's good? And then we'll have Tuesday and Wednesday off as I spend time with Paisley and the fam. And then we'll be back at it on Thursday, which I'm very excited. We're going to get the Cowboys and the Lions, 2 teams that are very evenly matched. And I can't wait to be able to call that game and watch that. And then as we transition into the weekend, obviously we'll be doing the Big Ten Championship between Ohio State and Indiana, number 1 versus number 2. And then going into the regular Sunday night, Monday night schedule moving forward. So looking forward to this one here tonight. And again, it would definitely be a little bit more special if Scadaboo and Neighbors were available for Dart. So the offense would be a little bit more potent for New York to give them a little bit better of a chance to possibly pull on the upset. But again, not a lot of people are going to have a whole lot of confidence in New York. Dart is very good with his arm and his legs. Obviously, as a rookie, he's going to need someone to be able to catch the ball for him. Definitely a lopsided matchup for sure, not only on paper, but in real life. But hopefully New York and Dart will be able to give us a little bit on the offense. And hopefully the Giants will be able to come up with a few, splash plays on defense to make this at least an entertaining matchup for hopefully at least for the first 3 quarters. We're going to be shooting for 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And again, some key injuries, obviously, with, Thibodeau on the defense. That's, someone that you typically want to watch, knowing that he'll be able to get to the ball. But just the simple fact that Thibodeau is not available, Brian Burns is, and he's got 13 sack lunches, here in 2025. So there is going to be at least an individual or 2 on the Giant defense that will be raising a little bit of havoc, for Drake May. But again, with Drake May, whether it be Trayvon Henderson, Stephon Diggs, or many of the other options that they have, at the running back position or at the wide receiver position. We know Ramondre Stevenson got, banged up early in the year. They have a lot of different options, but again, Vrabel has been a perfect fit. And again, sometimes, you got to be able to go through a few coaches before you find the right chemistry and the right scheme. And if you can get the players to believe, sometimes you can end up being a little bit better than maybe most that would expect. Sometimes you're a year or 2 early, and that might end up being the case for the New England Patriots. And if you look at their team, On the offense, the defense, and the special teams, arguably the most well-rounded team in the entire AFC. Now, we obviously know Denver's great at defense. Offense could be a little bit better for Bo Nix at times, but Bo is a gamer in the fourth quarter and overtime. Not a lot of quarterbacks better than him in the AFC or NFC late in games. The Buffalo Bills got a great offense in Allen and Cook at quarterback and running back. Defense, not so much. And then you got a lot of the other teams with the Colts and the Jags, the Texans, who got a great D, but offense could be a little bit better, as well as, a few others like the Chargers, the Chiefs, kind of looking on the outside, looking in. So again, a lot of these teams that we normally, are making deep runs, like the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills, you might only get one of those teams in Buffalo that can really get the job done. And again, want to be able to see a well-rounded matchup here with the offense, defense, and special teams for New England. And then I just want to see anything, from the offense and the defense from the Giants. I want to see Brian Spider Burns with a couple sack lunches. Hopefully he'll be able to impose his will like Bobby Wagner did last night. And we'll see if we can get a little bit of offense from Jackson Dart through his arm and his legs. And again, if the Giants are going to keep this close, Dart is going to have to be effective and the Giant D is going to have to make plays. Nice spin move there here off the kickoff. And I love these New England uniforms, the throwback unis from the 80s and the 90s. To me, it's one of the top 5 throwbacks out of all throwbacks. Obviously I like the Eagles, Kelly Green. I like the Seahawks, and they have multiple options there with the white or the blue. I do like the Buccaneer throwbacks with the white and the orange numbers, not so much the creamsicle jerseys, but this is definitely one of the top 5 looks. Also like the old school look of Warren Moon and the Oilers. And again, we will see hopefully a throwback performance here today. 4-yard run up the middle. Ramondre Stevenson is back from the injury. 4-yard gain, 2nd down and 6 at the Giants 49. And they got a great 1-2 punch with Ramondre Stevenson and Trayvon Henderson from the Ohio State University. So with the Buckeye running back filling in, did a very good job. And again, it's one of the more potent 1-2 punches. It may not be as good as Gibbs and Montgomery for Detroit, but again, it's definitely very effective. And May has been very good with his completion percentage, obviously his touchdown to interception ratio, as well as his yards this year. 2nd down and 6, shotgun set for May. Throws towards the sideline, complete. And Mac Hollins has been a very underrated wide receiver. Lower name tier receiver, but coming up with some big plays in the 2025 season. 5-yard pass from Drake May to Mac Hollins, who they obviously have Stephon Diggs on the other side, and many, many other options that can come up and make big plays. I do like Demario Douglas and Hunter Henry as well. 3rd down and 1 at the Giants 44. Daniel in the building, Marine Bean in the building. What's good? Stevenson up the middle, breaking a tackle and another, and it takes 5 Giants to bring him down. Ramondre Stevenson, 1st down, Patriots. Move the chains. Too bad the Giants aren't wearing their throwbacks from the 80s and 90s from the Lawrence Taylor era. Then it would really complete this look of the throwbacks, but really loving the old school look for the New England Patriots. The helmet and the jersey, top tier. Love it. 1st down and 10 at the Giants 36. Shotgun set, and May going deep down that left side of the field and complete. Mac Hollins, and Mac has been very good on deep throws, obviously this season, and that time in double coverage, no one was catching that ball. 2nd down and 10 at the Giants 36. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Bang, bang. Abdul Carter and Spider Burns. Watch for them. Too bad Kayvon Thibodeau is injured, and then they would have the trifecta. Secondary is something that you can exploit for the Giant defense. 2nd down and 10 at the Giants 36. Shotgun set for Drake May. Good protection up the middle, little check down. There's Diggs. And maneuvering his way into a 1st down. 1st down, Patriots. Move the chains. Phillips with the tackle and the push out there with the coverage for the New York Football Giants. 1st down and 10 at the Giants 23. Wow. Stay safe out there. So you guys have 8, 9, 10 inches of snow out there now, about 5 or 6 inches from the day before. So stay safe out there. First down and 10 at the Giants 23. Patriot offense as efficient as ever. Obviously, we know the Giants defense is not the same caliber that, what we're seeing, but they still can make plays from time to time as May avoids the sack lunch, throws towards the sideline, and complete. Second down and 10 at the Giants 23. And again, if we can get Abdul Carter and Brian Spida Burns to get some pressures, it could lead to some sacks, some picks, some fumbles, and potentially a fumble for a touchdown or a pick six, even though we know May has been very efficient this season. I've been there before, with the snow. I know how I know what that's about. Handoff up the middle. And looks like about a 7-yard run there by Ramondre Stevenson. Holland and Lawrence with the tackle. And, Ramondre Stevenson obviously has a certain feel, to his game as a 4th rounder from Oklahoma. But personally for me, I like Trayvon Henderson more. I think that, you see a little bit faster legs, a younger athlete, and it's a good 1-2 punch, but if it was me, I would go with Trayvon Henderson as a starter and Ramondre as the RB2, the change of pace back or the goal line guy. But again, either guy can run from the 20 to the 20s, inside or outside between the tackles, and both obviously can be 3 down backs, as we've seen Henderson filling in for Stevenson when he had the injury. And Hunter Henry with a nice catch there. And that's going to be 1st and goal at the Giants 6. 10-yard pass from May to Hunter Henry. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. Yeah, that was already kind of speculated. Our defensive coordinator is leaving also for a head coaching job next year. But, Oregon, always likes to, not necessarily always promote within. But again, we definitely have assistants that could take over the jobs for the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator that are already on the staff. And if they go outside of that, I know we'll be able to find the right people. If it's not within the organization already, we'll be just fine. And honestly, I don't think a lot of Duck fans are going to be that butthurt that Stein is leaving. He's been a top 10 offense, with Stein running the plays. But again, in situational football, some of the plays have been a little sketchy. So, I wish him the best, but it's not going to hurt my feelings that he's going somewhere. I think that we're going to end up being a little bit better actually once he's gone. But he will be coaching the team and trying to manufacture what he does with Kentucky at the same time during the college football playoff. Kind of the opposite of Lane Kiffin, where they denied him, the chance to keep working with the old team, Ole Miss, and it's just LSU. That damage was too severe for them to even, to have him coach the rest of the way. And that's going to be a 2-yard pass from May to Trayvon Henderson. 3rd and goal at the Giants 4. Shotgun set and incomplete to Stephon Diggs. And again, these are the type of play calls that are maddening to me. When it ends up being, 3rd and goal, and, you only need a yard or 2, or even 3 or 4. Why are we throwing the ball so often? I know it's a throwing league, but run the football, especially when you got 2 capable backs. And now it's going to be 4th and goal at the Giants 4. Giant defense with no Kayvon Thibodeau did a great job there. And a little bit outside over the head of Stephon Diggs. And the Giants did a great job there on that first drive where it looked like it was definitely going to be a touchdown. They hold him to 3, kick is up and good. And we have a early 3-0 lead for New England. Now, if we can just get Jackson Dart to do something similar, and also hopefully, score with his legs and his arm, and again, 10 touchdowns through the air, 7 on the ground. Jackson Dart is one of those guys that will probably have to score at least 1 through the air and 1 on the ground, and getting help, from his defense and special teams to compete here tonight. And obviously, if he can get 2 in the air and 1 in the ground, that might be enough to actually pull off the upset. But is New England's defense going to give up that much to Jackson Dart? Well, after we get back from the commercial break, we will find out. Absolute loving these unis with the helmet and the jersey. Top 5 throwback look, in my opinion. And it's awesome to be able to see, young quarterbacks, from a few years ago where they were kind of trending to be a bust. But it shows you if you do have the right coach and the right scheme and the right coordinators, even guys that have struggled for a few years can finally flip the switch and, truly find themselves. And again, sometimes it takes a second, third, or fourth team like Baker Mayfield, going from the Browns to the, Panthers to the Rams and then to the Buccaneers, or just being a quarterback in your rookie deal and then finally finding the right coach in Vrabel with the right coordinators and then able to really put a magnificent season together. 10-2, 4-2 at home for the New England Patriots, 2-10, 0-7 on the road, unfortunately, for the New York Football Giants. But if they had Cam Skattebo and Malik Neighbors, you would assume that they would probably have 3 or 4 wins right now, not just 2 at the moment. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. And we've been gaining some subs on a pretty good level. We'll have the next 2 days off on the channel while I spend time with the fam and the pup. And we'll be back for Thursday night football between the Cowboys and the Lions. And honestly, I normally don't get really excited watching the Cowboys, because normally it's the same story every year. You get these talking heads that are thinking that they're good enough to make the Super Bowl. And then it's like these things that are, it's just kind of gibberish sports talk, right? And again, the Cowboys, aren't a Super Bowl contender, but one thing that they are they're fun to watch. Within the last month or so, they've definitely turned their ship around, and they are a team that could sneak themselves into the playoffs. And again, the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers, we all, 3 teams might not have good records, but we're all kind of trending upwards, the opposite of kind of like the Chiefs, who have a similar record than those 3 teams that I mentioned, but they're kind of trending in the opposite direction. But they might be able to get back on track on Sunday night when they play the Texans, another team that doesn't really have a great record, sitting around that 6-7 win range. But the defense is one of the best with the Broncos, and the Texans could definitely beat the Chiefs. Looking forward to that even matchup on the weekend as well. So the football matchups on Thursday night and Sunday night are going to be amazing, and hopefully Jackson Dart can make this game at least amazing for 3 quarters before, if the New England Patriots pull away, then, I want to make sure that we're getting a competitive matchup for as long as we possibly can. But, Dak's been playing great ball, right? CeeDee Lamb, Pickens has kind of, obviously had a rebirth in his career, and defense is playing great for them at times. At times it's terrible, for the Cowboys, but at times it's decent. And, they've been, kind of turning their season around. And, again, I like the way that they've been playing lately. Dart, hands off, Tyrone Tracy Jr., and Harold Landry III says not today. 2nd down and 9 after that 1-yard gain by Tracy at the New York Football Giant 26-yard line. 3-0 New England here early with about 9 minutes to go in the first quarter. And again, it's kind of nice where we get, some new teams, some new blood, that are, at the top and in the middle of the NFL, rankings and obviously records. Ooh, nice throw there by Jackson Dart. Wow. First down, Giants. And again, with no Malik Neighbors, obviously that's going to lead to, a few other individuals stepping up and making plays. And it's getting chippy out there already between New England and the Giants, pushing each other here early. Darius Slayton, a very reliable receiver for Jackson Dart. And Davis there with the coverage, the former Buccaneer. 11-yard pass, first down, Giants. And that's a great thing to see, not a 3-and-out. And again, Jackson Dart definitely gives you a hell of a lot more, than Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson. And again, maybe they should have started Dart from the very beginning. But again, they definitely hit it on the head. And once we get Skattebo and Neighbors healthy, that trifecta is going to be the reason we go out of our way to watch the Giants play football in the future. I mean, besides Spider Burns and Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau on that side as well on the defense. Dart scrambling, avoiding the sack lunch, but he can't avoid that one. And gets pummeled there. And Landry and the offensive linemen are getting into it here early. They want to make sure that they're protecting their quarterback to the best of their ability. Landry And Barmore there. Barmore in there for the sack. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. But anyone that's going to be coming after Dart in his head or his body, when he's kind of vulnerable, you can see how the Giant offensive linemen are not going to take that. And they're going to step up for their quarterback. And sometimes that'll lead to penalties. But at least that they know, that they're on the same page and, they do have his back. Dart, nice little check down. And Wan'Dale Robinson with the check down, 6-yard pass. 3rd down and 9 at the Giants' 38. (3-0) New England here early on. But again, Dart is impressive. And if a team like the Saints, would have drafted Dart, think about where, their season is now and where it could have been. Obviously injuries are tough. And Dart himself even got injured like Scadaboo and Neighbors. But I really like Dart. As far as like a lot of the young quarterbacks, we saw what he could do in college, and that was kind of a preview. But sometimes it's going to the right team at the right time. And even though they have a lot of holes still, I feel like their core, they're going in the right direction. 2-yard pass there to Wan'Dale Robinson. And a great coverage by Barmore and Taysom. That's going to be 4th down and 7 at the Giant 40. So the drive finally stalls. But again, at least a little positive movement out of the Giants there. And momentarily, we will get the punt to New England. Giants with the punt. No pressure by New England. And Marcus Jones, good vision. Go, Marcus. Down the sideline. One man to beat. He's going to the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Patriots. And if you can get a special teams touchdown, a pick 6 or a fumble for a touchdown, that almost guarantees a win every single time. 94-yard punt return TD. Marcus Jones. Who? Marcus Jones. Who? Marcus Jones. 9-0 Patriots. Wow. And again, it was very close on that sideline there, and he ended up doing a little bit of a hurdle right at the right moment. And again, evading the tackle. Beautiful sequence there on special teams. And, let's be real. We don't really see a whole lot of punt returns or kick returns for touchdowns in the NFL anymore. And when we do see it, it's even more explosive than it was back in the day. And again, trying to go upper body with the tackle, should have went lower body. And just a great return. Extra point is up and good. 10-0 Patriot lead. And now hopefully Dart will be able to get them at least to a field goal. Potentially, a touchdown would be great, but, we'll see how the flow of the game will go. Only player with an offense, defense, and special teams touchdown, huh? Marcus Jones. And that's what the Patriots do. And, again, they might be, to me, when I watch them, and I've watched quite a few of their games this season, they're the most well-rounded team in the AFC. Broncos got a great D, but obviously the Patriot offense runs smoother than Denver's. There's no doubt about that. And Buffalo's got a great O, with Allen and Cook, but their defense, not so much. And then you got all the other teams, with the Ravens and the Steelers, not good, right? You got the Colts, the Jags, and the Texans that are playing good ball, but we don't really know who's going to come out, out of that particular, AFC South. And then, you still got the Chargers and the Chiefs, still battling it out. So, you can definitely kind of see the pecking order, and it definitely feels like, the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Bills are at the top, and then there's everyone else. And again, the Colts were in that conversation, a couple of tough losses. Now, with Sarah and the Colts fans, now you're just trying to hang on, to that top spot in the AFC South. And if you end up getting second place in that particular division, you just got to make sure that third team doesn't leapfrog you also. Obviously with the Jags and the Texans and the Colts all kind of in a logjam. So we'll see where that goes. Same kind of logjam that you have in the NFC West, where you have 3 teams with 9 wins, and that's never happened at this point in the season, with the Rams with 9 wins, the Seahawks with 9 wins, and then obviously the Niners in the wild card with 9 wins. And it's pretty wild, to be able to see how the season is going. The NFC is clearly deeper than the AFC this year, but the AFC definitely does have a few nice teams, a few of them in the AFC South, and obviously the top tier would be the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Buffalo Bills, at least for today. 10-0 Patriots. And we got 5:17 left in the first quarter as we wait for the commercial break to end and for us to get back into the action for Jackson Dart. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 10-0 New England lead here early, which is no surprise. Obviously, if New England was on the road, just like Denver was, it would have been more of a trap game. But again, the Giants are just, too injured, too beat up, and they haven't won a game on the road all year. So New England's going to win, but hopefully we get to see Jackson Dart, splash a little bit, and hopefully Spider Burns with a couple sacks. And we'll see if Abdul Carter can get in the mix as well, since Kayvon Thibodeau is injured and is out, just like a few of the others, like Scadaboo, which I really enjoy watching when he's healthy, and Malik Neighbors, who I really enjoy watching as well. But unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 on offense, and that trifecta is injured, so it's just going to have to be the Jackson Dart show. 19-yard return after that 54-yard punt. First down and 10 at the New York Football Giant 30. At this point, you just got to be able to manufacture a couple first downs, and you're going to have to try to see if you can test the secondary. But remember, Christian Gonzalez from the Ducks is one of the best corners in the league, so they may not throw to that side, but you got to get Slayton and a few of the others, some touches, and especially some RPOs with Dart, so that way he can use his legs. That's going to be the only way they're going to keep this one semi-close. False start there on the Giants on Theo Johnson. Self-inflicted wounds, you can't have that. Second down and 13 at the Giant 27. About 4 minutes left here in the first quarter. 10-0 Patriot lead. You got to be better, Theo. Now, it's one thing when it's an offensive lineman, but when you get the penalty for false start and you're a tight end or a wide receiver, unexcusable. Come on, my guy. Second down and 13 at the New York Football Giants 27. Shotgun set here for Dart. Shotgun set. Play action. Bootleg. Rolling to his right. Tucking and running. Go. There you go. Ooh! Takes a big hit on the sideline. That's going to start a fight. And again, they've already been, chippy and fighting there. And wow. And again, they've already been pushing and shoving and already gone into 2 scraps. And now Dart getting blasted on the sideline just as he was stepping out of bounds. And it feels like these guys are going to be throwing punches sooner than later. It's already getting very, very physical out there. A lot of words are exchanged, but the physicality, obviously, early on by New England towards the Giant team that's already injured, man. And Dart does a great job running for the sideline, and a big pop. Wow. Yeah, legal hit, but it definitely was nasty. Shoulder to shoulder there, completely legal. But again, if Dart takes too many hits like that, that's going to put him, on the injured list. So he's got to be able to learn when to be able to go down. And obviously Theo Johnson, the tight end, and a few of these other offensive linemen not happy with that big hit on the sideline by New England. Theo Johnson with the 15-yard penalty there with the personal foul after getting the false start. Just trying to be able to back up the quarterback. But also that's a young, inexperienced quarterback that's got a lot of swagger and moxie. But again, you got to be able to know when to go down. Ellis with the big hit on the sideline. That linebacker launched himself like 4 yards away before he actually made contact with that shoulder. Very, very nasty hit. Third down and 16 at the Giants 24. Man, that kind of reminded me of the hits that I'm used to seeing back when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s when the game was much different than it is today. That was like a Ronnie Lott type of hit. All right, after that unnecessary roughness penalty there by Theo Johnson, we got 3rd down and 16. Shotgun set, dart, short middle. Going to Theo Johnson, the guy that's trying to be able to have his back, as that gets tipped and incomplete. 4th down and 16 at the Giants 24. And obviously Vrabel has got that defense fired up where, they are trying to absolutely stomp the Giants early and often. And the flow of this game, I don't know what the final score is going to be, but I know Vrabel is trying to get this to like a 40-0 kind of game. And obviously we want New York to put up some points. But again, definitely one-sided here early, with New England being very dominant here on both sides of the ball, including special teams. 4th down and 16. Punt is underway. And a nice 18-yard return there by Marcus Jones, who already has a touchdown in this game. Peyton with the tackle. 1st down and 10 at the New England 39. That'll be on social media, that big hit by Ellis. As we go to a commercial break, 10-0 Patriots. All right, we're at 14 likes, 86 to go to hit the goal. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono trade. And 5 to 15 subs. And shout out to all the individuals that have subbed to the channel in 2025, as well as there was 40 or 50 within the last few days. I appreciate that. And we ended up hitting the 23,300 number just a couple days ago. And obviously now next goal is 23,400. And we need 90 to get to that particular goal. And I know we're going to get there sooner than later. Gained another sub since the last commercial break. Thank you so much. $89 subs to go to 23,400. Nice job by Drake May here early and often. And obviously the defense is out there hitting with Ellis. Marcus Jones with a 94-yard punt return for a touchdown and a field goal early there by Andy in New England. And again, we will see if the New England offense will be able to pour it on here again for Drake May. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. My boy. All right, here we go. Let's see if Drake May can get the ball to Trayvon Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, or Mac Hollins, or any of the other options they have. And again, you saw the Patriots spend a lot of money. They hit on all of their free agents. They hit on all their, draft picks, it seems like. And it got the right coach, leading Drake May and kind of, giving him a new life in his career. Great for them. And obviously Josh McDaniels, the guru, calling the plays. 10-yard pass there by May. First down, Patriots. I see you, Kayshawn. Hand off to Ramondre Stevenson, bouncing off one tackler, diving towards the marker. 9-yard run. Paulson Adebo, the former Saint, there with the tackle. 2nd down and 1 at the New York Football Giants 42. Loving the helmets and the uniforms that the Patriots are wearing. Definitely giving me vibes of the 80s and 90s. About 2 minutes left here in the first quarter. 10-0 Patriots. Second down and 1. QB sneak there by Drake May, falling forward with a 3-yard run. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. First down and 10 at the New York Football Giant 39. 10-0 Pats early. Get Trayvon Henderson the ball. They got plenty of options there in the running back room. Play action. Nice pump fake, wide open. Hunter Henry pulling some tacklers. First down, Patriots. And taking about 4 Giants to bring him down. First down and goal at the Giants 3. And it feels like momentarily we're going to get a Ramondre Stevenson or a Trayvon Henderson touchdown in the next 1 or 2 plays. I mean, obviously they could always pass the ball to Dick Henry or Mac Hollins or Demario Douglas. Obviously you have that option to throw, on first and goal at the 3, and it is pretty common nowadays. But when you got 2 good running backs, why throw the ball? No really need. But when you're up 10-0, we'll see. They decide to throw the ball. Back shoulder fade. Touchdown, Patriots. And I want to see if he actually got both feet in there. Kayshawn getting the job done. And again, one-on-one, if you can get that back shoulder fade in the right spot, obviously, more times than not, if you got a receiver with good hands and good body placement, you're going to get that done. Let's see this real quick again. Oh, yeah, clearly got 2 feet, got 3 in. Nice pass there by Drake May. Kayshawn, I see you. Extra point is up and good. 17-0 Patriots. Come on, Giants. We need Jackson Dart to get the offense to at least with 3 on the board, but preferably a touchdown before this one gets out of hand, which it already is at this point. Maybe the only thing that could have saved the Giants today is if they were playing at home and they had Scadaboo and Neighbors as well as Kayvon Thibodeau. Even that, would still probably turn out to an L, but, it is what it is. 1 minute left in the first quarter, 17-0 Patriots, and that's why they are one of the best teams in the NFL this year, and probably the biggest threat to the Denver Broncos and the AFC besides the Buffalo Bills, definitely the New England Patriots. Minnie in the building, how are you? How's bartending going? How's your fantasy going? Drake May, the real deal. MVP candidate for a reason. And it's kind of cool to see the Patriots, with an identity, post Brady, Gronk, and Belichick. We didn't really know how long, the Patriots were going to suck. Until they ended up finding the right coach, the right quarterback, and the right, coordinators. And obviously McDaniels calling plays is a huge advantage, for New England. Obviously, we know some guys are better at coordinator like McDaniels than being a head coach. He already went down that road once. And again, New England, very, very seasoned. The most well-rounded team in the entire AFC, the New England Patriots, offense, defense, and special teams. You won fantasy by 30? Nice. Yeah, it sounds like there's been quite a few storms coming through, your way and also in the Midwest for Sarah, in the middle of the country, here in the States and whatnot. I'm on the West Coast, so obviously we don't typically get snow usually until, most of the time it'll be January, sometimes even February until we get our first snow. It's very rare where we get snow in Oregon in December, but I wouldn't mind, getting a little bit, that way me and the pup can go out and, I got her a nice jacket now so she won't be as cold. And, once the snow does drop, we'll definitely be going on some adventures out here in Oregon. Megan in the building. How are you? Patriots with the kickoff. And a pretty good return there. Breaking 1 tackle, 2 tackles, 3 tackles. Nice job there by Deonte Banks. 35-yard return after a 62-yard kick. First down and 10 at the New York Football Giant 38. Every time it snows, we usually try to get out there, but, I just want to make sure, she has the best possible life, and, if I know that I'm going to give her all the love and the attention and she's going to have a great life, that makes my heart happy. Handoff up the middle there by Devin Singletary. Christian Barmore, very early and active, the D tackle for the Patriots. Second down and 9 at the New York Football Giant 39. 17-0 Patriot lead. Again, if the Giants were at home and had everyone healthy, they would have a better chance to make this a trap game for New England. But it definitely shows you how well-rounded New England is on offense, defense, and special teams. Would not shock me one bit if New England makes the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, AFC Championship game could be them and Denver. Could be very, very exciting between those two teams. And, that might be the one team that, Denver, might have a really hard time beating New England, let alone, possibly the Bills if Allen and Cook go off. We already know the Bills defense is not really existent most of the time, but when you have Allen and Cook on the Bills and they go off, anything can happen. End of the first quarter, 17-0 Patriots. And I think you couldn't have scripted for a better start. And also the Patriots making a statement with the physicality with their defense. Everyone talks about the Broncos. Nobody talks about the Patriots. And again, there's been a lot of hate, towards that team, with all the different gates that were involved with Belichick, Brady, and Gronk, and obviously that regime. But again, this is a brand new regime with a brand new coach, and they finally have an identity. And again, they're not messing around. And again, wouldn't shock me one bit if, they end up getting to the AFC Championship game. Wouldn't shock me one bit if they make the Super Bowl. And honestly, they might be the only team in the AFC to actually win the Super Bowl over the NFC teams. We already know the NFC is deeper this year, offense, defense, special teams. But if there is a team that's built like an NFC team, it's New England. And again, we know that the Rams and the Seahawks and the Niners all have 9 wins at this point, which is crazy. That's never happened this late in the season before, with 3 teams with 9 wins with those specific 3 teams. And, we always assumed that the Niners would fall back at some point. They still haven't fallen back and are still kind of hanging around. Obviously the Panthers, the Buccaneers, and the Cowboys don't have very good records, but they're playing pretty good ball. And again, we know that the Rams, Seahawks, Niners, very, very solid teams with good coaching, and, they're doing a great job. The Eagles haven't been that great, as of late. The Lions have been kind of fading a little bit as well. Bears have been playing some great football. Packers also. So it's anybody's guess on who's going to end up representing the NFC. And it's definitely going to end up being a battle and a war. And AFC's got a few teams, and normally they're a little bit deeper. But again, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and a few other teams that normally are, decent, definitely have taken quite a few step backs for a number of reasons. And I'm definitely excited to see not only how the college football playoff, kind of pans out, but how it all pans out in the NFC, AFC playoff picture. Big facts. This would have been a great matchup to see Scattaboo and Malik Neighbors with Dart. It's like, if they're going to lose, that's fine. But again, if they're able to put up some points and get, kind of some excitement for the Giant fans, that would obviously have been great. But they still have a few capable players out there to be able to get, into field goal range or to get in the end zone. But Dart is going to have to use his legs, not just his arm, for them to be able to, get into the end zone today. And that Christian Ellis hit was one of the hardest hits I've seen all year. But Dart is a champ. Obviously got up immediately, and hopefully he'll be able to manufacture a few first downs and a few touchdowns before this one is over. First down and 10. Singleton run up the middle for a gain of 1. Second down and 9 at the New England 46. Robert Spillane, linebacker for the Patriots, with the tackle. Second down and 9 at the New England 46. Shotgun set and a run towards that right tackle with Singletary again, only gaining a yard. That ain't going to cut it. And obviously, moving on from Saquon Barkley hasn't been too kind for them. But again, I do like Scattaboo, though, and this would have been a great game for him to rumble, even though there would be, obviously some negative yardage plays against this Patriot D, but Scattaboo has got the it factor. Third down and 8 at the New England 45. You got to throw the ball or run the ball with your legs, Dart. Running it up the middle twice for a yard each time ain't going to get it done against this Patriot D. You got to be able to, get the ball going downfield. Shotgun set. Patriots bringing blitz. Dart one-on-one towards the sideline. And did he catch it? And ball is dropped, but flag comes out. And we'll see if that ends up being PI, targeting, or something of that nature. Oh, that's helmet to helmet there. First down by penalty, but again, when you're the Giants and you're down 17-0, I mean, you're going to take anything that you can get in this game. Unnecessary roughness there with the helmet to helmet. First down and 10 at the New England 30. Oh, absolutely. Not just because he's a duck, but again, going through shoulder, knee, mental health, depression. And, when we have Bucky, we're a completely different team. Not to say that Tucker and White aren't good backs. They are. But Bucky is like a Jahmyr Gibbs. He gives you a little bit more in the running and passing game. And if Bucky can end up being healthy the rest of the year, that could be the difference between us winning the NFC South or the Panthers. So very, very happy, and sucks that he was out since week 3, but very happy to have him back. And a nice pass there by Dart. There we go. Go, baby, go. Touchdown, Giants. There we go. Jackson Dart, baby. Darius Slayton, one of the only really good options left on the Giants, and a 30-yard receiving TD. That does not happen often. Let's go. He might have been down at the 1, though. That's close. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to overturn that. Yeah, and I just like being able to see Ducks and Huskies do well in the NFL. Even though the Huskies are the Ducks' rival, we ended up beating them over the weekend. But we have quite a few Ducks and Huskies on the Buccaneers. Vita Vea, Jalen McMillan, who's starting practice this week after having a vertebrae spine issue injury in the preseason. And then obviously having Bucky Irving and Tez Johnson obviously on the Ducks as well. So it's a nice blend of a few Huskies and a few Ducks. And, definitely excited to be able to see those guys show out. Nice throw by Dart, and it shows you the potential Dart has. If you can get the right coach, the right coordinator, the right supporting cast, this is definitely the correct quarterback for the future. Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, not so much. Nice 30-yard touchdown pass to make this game at least a little interesting. And again, I figured Dart would be able to get a few touchdown passes today, and maybe, if we're lucky, one on the ground with his legs. But he single-handedly is trying to keep this team from not getting blown out 40-0. Great job. 17-7 Patriots. Nice job, Jackson. You got that swagger and you got that aura and vibe. And obviously Drake May, more of a simple guy, and again, when you hear him talk, he kind of sounds like Eli Manning, more of a pocket guy, but definitely has the ability to be able to move around in the pocket, and definitely has taken his completion percentage and his overall game to another level. Completion percentage, yards, touchdown to interception ratio, things are looking very, very, great. Not only short term, but long term, very bright future for both of these quarterbacks. But for Drake May, definitely an MVP candidate this year. He could do the crab legs as well. I mean, he's got plenty of. I mean, it wouldn't shock me, after Jameis is retired, he'll probably be on Fox or CBS as like one of the, pre-show and post-show analysts. Definitely not going to be someone that you would probably see in the booth, doing like color, like Tom Brady, or Tony Romo. But he could be one of those guys like, Gronk or Michael Strahan, like in a pre-show, in the morning or afternoon, pre-game, post-game, on Fox or CBS or, ESPN, something of that nature. So, Jameis is a goofy guy. And obviously, he's got a number of job opportunities lined up after his career is over. And he might end up being more famous after his playing days, rather than his playing days specifically. So, and obviously he could open up a lot of different food locations as well. Koo with a kick, 61 yards, the former Atlanta Falcon kicker. 21-yard return there by Chisholm. First down and 10 at the New England 25. Shotgun set. Drake May, short right to Travion Henderson. 5-yard gain. Second down and 5 at the New England 30. And I'm really thankful, that the Giants and Dart was able to go to Slayton and get into the end zone. I would have been happy with just a field goal, but to get a touchdown, that a very stingy defense in New England, at least it makes it kind of back and forth. We know New England's going to win. The Giants have zero chance of winning this game, but, if we can get Dart to have a good game, maybe they only lose by like 7 to 10 points rather than like 30. So hopefully it ends up being like that. But again, the Giant defense needs to be able to come up big with Abdul Carter as well as Brian Spider Burns. Direct snap to Ramondre Stevenson, run up the middle for 4 yards. Doing a Ricky Williams there, back when he was on the Dolphins and the Saints. Third down and 1 at the New England 34. And there's not, there's some guys, that might be decent talkers, but, Jameis definitely has the personality to be more famous after football. And we'll see, what he decides to pursue, if that's something that he wants to pursue or not. But and even though he turns over the ball a lot, I definitely trust him in the lineup more than Russ, at this point in Russell's career. And timeout, New England. 11:16 left here in the second quarter. 17-7 Patriots. Third down and 1 as they go over a play call. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. We'll have Tuesday and Wednesday off as I spend some time with the pup and the fam. And then we'll be back on Thursday with a very great matchup between the Cowboys and the Lions. Very excited about that one. And Drake May with the pump fake, leaning forward towards that first down marker. And I don't think he got it. 12 noon, you know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Abdul Carter with the sack lunch. And now that's going to be 4th down and 1 at the New England 34. And now if we can get Dart to get another touchdown to make it 17-14, we actually have a ball game. But we're going to need Spider Burns and Abdul Carter to continue to have sacks and pressures on May to keep it close. And terrible punt there. And I'm interested to see where this is going to get spotted. Kind of shake that punt there. Wow. 25-yard punt by Behringer. First down and 10 at the Giant 44. So just with a couple, good, first downs, the Giants will be in field goal range. And then a few more, they're going to be in the end zone. So, again, obviously New England started off more physical. They were getting very chippy. A lot of words were being exchanged. A lot of big hits, like Ellis there on Dart on the sideline. But again, Dart, a very young, confident, quarterback that has an aura or vibe that we don't really see out of a lot of quarterbacks, kind of like a Baker Mayfield type. And I like that. Again, when you're losing games, people are going to call you cocky, but when you're winning games and you have that attitude, oh, you got aura, you got swagger, you got confidence. So again, it can always be taken, two different ways, depending on if you're winning games and acting like that, or you're losing games. But regardless of the record, I really like Dart. I liked him in college. Obviously, I love what he's doing here in New York. And again, with Scadaboo and with Malik Neighbors, in the future, again, it's going to be very exciting to see what this Ole Miss quarterback is going to be able to do, not only for New York fans, but for NFL fans in the future. First down and 10 at the Giant 44. I got to get that sack lunch, but if you're my age, you're going way back. You're going with the Squeeze It, you're going with the Pop-Tart, you're going with the Kudos bar, cookies and cream, and then anything else that's in there that you may not even see, obviously, in times today. And I do miss a lot of those things that aren't available anymore. What I wouldn't do for a Squeeze It, what I wouldn't do for a Kudos bar, that I don't even know why they went out of business. I mean, so many great snacks, Shark Bites from back in the day. All the sack lunches, it. First down and 10 at the Giants 44. 17-14 New England lead, but Dart definitely has something cooking, and hopefully he'll be able to get them into the end zone again. Crazy, they don't really make things like they used to in the 80s and the 90s. And Jameis trying to point out the spot of where the football is. What a character Jameis is. You never know, what he's going to say or what he's going to do. All right, come on, Dart. Show me something, baby. I got trips right. Man in motion, Dart, shotgun set, Wan'Dale Robinson, 4-yard pass, Hawkins and Woodson with the tackle there by New England. Second down and 6 at the Giant 48. Shotgun set. Singletary up the middle for a 4-yard gain. Woodson and Ellis with the tackle. Third down and 2 at the New England 48. And again, this could be a spot where you could get Dart, to run a QB sneak or RPO and to try to run for the first down. You always got to be able to keep your options open, and, pocket quarterbacks still exist in the NFL, but you definitely need to be able to be mobile in this 2025 NFL season, and not only this season, but every season moving forward. The game has changed quite a bit from where we were, not only 10 years ago to where we're at now. Singletary up the middle, Barmore and Ellis there again. First down, Giants. Move the chains. There we go. Good blocking up front there by the Giant O-line, and a good push as well. And this Giant team is not backing down, which I love, for, a battle of one team that's got a great record like last night with Denver, and a team that's got a bad record in the Commanders. Commanders might be the worst team. But again, the Giants are 2-10, 0-7 on the road. But again, with the talent that they have, you would assume that they would have a few more wins than they do right now. Not a playoff team whatsoever, but, probably should be at like 4 wins right now. Oh, nice cut up the middle. Singletary, 13-yard run. First down, New York Football Giants. Move the chains. Let's go. Nice run there. Gregory and Woodson with the tackle. And again, the Giants are doing a great job blocking up front. First down and 10 at the New England 29. Let's get in the end zone and make this a 17-14 game. Let's do that. Let's go. Come on, Dart. I don't mind if you run it in yourself or you throw it. Let's go. Dart under center on first down and 10. Calls an audible at the line. Hands it off to Singletary up the middle. And good defense there by Joshua Farmer, the D tackle. No gain. Second down and 10 at the New England 29. Got about 8 minutes to go here before halftime. It was a very dominant start by New England, but the Giants are starting to get a little bit of traction. And again, hopefully they'll be able to get into the end zone to make this game interesting. Shotgun set. Man in motion. Dart. RPO. Then he flips it at the last minute. Caught. And instead of going to the right and running himself, goes back to the left. And that's going to be ineligible downfield pass by Jackson Dart. Second down and 15 at the New England 34. Come on, Dart. Shotgun set. Dart, short left to Wan'Dale Robinson. 5-yard game. Christian Gonzalez from the Ducks with the tackle. Third down and 10 at the New England 29. And Christian Gonzalez might be the best corner in the NFL this year. And again, we knew how great he was at Oregon. And again, finally been able to have a good supporting cast around him for him to be able to shine in this light. Third down and 10 at the New England 29. Wish I had Gonzalez Buccaneers. He's a fucking stud. Last one, Dale Robinson goes backwards about 3 yards. You don't usually see a corner put on a hit that hard. And shotgun set. Dart going deep. Theo Johnson incomplete. Fourth down and 10 at the New England 29. And at this point, take the field goal if your kicker can make it from here. Even if it ends up being a 45-yard field goal, something of that nature. If he's got the leg, hopefully it'll end up being made, and we'll have a 17-10 game here momentarily. Rob in the building. How are you? Go M's all day, every day. As soon as the Mariners have games televised, in spring training, I'll start doing them. So, March can't come soon enough. But in the meantime, we'll be doing a lot of NFL and college football. And then once we get into March, then obviously we'll be transitioning. Oh! And New England, after the field goal attempt, ends up completely getting botched there. I don't know exactly what happened with that snap and the placeholder. And terrible outcome there for the Giants. Unbelievable. Placeholder. And I don't know what Koo was thinking there. I mean, is that a miss in the kick? I mean, it's like his timing and his footwork were completely off. And I don't know how the hell that you do that. And maybe that's why you ended up getting cut, there from the Falcons. But normally when you see a kicker, right, go for a field goal kick, they actually, time it up where they actually kick the ball instead of like stopping an inch from the ball and not even kicking the ball. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. 17-7 New England. Missed opportunity there by the Giants. Get a better kicker. Yeah, hopefully the Giants will stay competitive. But again, they have to be able to actually kick the football on field goal attempts. And again, I don't think I've ever seen something like that. I thought maybe, he slipped, but again, his timing with his steps were off, and then he just stopped about an inch from the football. And then, what do you do at that point? Then the placeholder, has to pick the ball up. And, obviously that player is not going to have experience throwing more times than not unless it's one of the backup quarterbacks. And that turned into disaster. 17-7 New England. Hopefully the Giant defense can make up for that. And we're going to be at the New England 42 once we come back from the commercial break. Next up for the Patriots, Drake May and his offense. Brutal. I was really hoping for a 17-10, but we'll see what happens. Field goal on for New England. Marcus Jones with a 94-yard punt return for a touchdown. Keyshawn Boutte, 3-yard TD pass from May. And then obviously we had a Darius Slayton 30-yard touchdown pass from Dart. And that's where we're sitting right now. 17-7 New England. All right, 6:22 left here in the second quarter. 10-point lead for the Patriots. Shotgun set. Travion Henderson running towards that left tackle. 13-yard gain. Tyler Nubin with the tackle. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. Nice run there by Travion Henderson, who I think is a better running back than Ramondre Stevenson personally, but it's nice to have that problem when you have two good running backs. Henderson again, bouncing it to the outside. Paulson Adebo there in the coverage. First down and 10 at the Giant 35. First down, Patriots. Move the chains. Henderson's a stud, man. Ramondre Stevenson, he can give you a few plays here and there, a little injury prone. But to me, I think Henderson should be the number one back. And then Ramondre Stevenson being the change of pace back. I think the offense would flow better if they were to do that. But, both are capable of scoring touchdowns and getting positive yards on their touches. Hand off to Travion Henderson. And finally, a play in the backfield there by Tyler Nubin, the safety. Loss of a yard. Good defense there by the Giants. Second down and 11 at the Giants 36. Less than 5 minutes to go here in the second quarter. 17-7 New England. Too bad Kayvon Thibodeau is injured. Obviously, he would be a factor with Abdul Carter and Brian Spida Burns. Shotgun set on second down and 11. May sliding in the pocket, throw to the sideline, and that is caught. But it looks like we're going to end up having a holding penalty there by Garrett Bradbury, the center for the Pats, and that's going to bring him back. Second down and 21 at the Giant 46. Shotgun set. Drake May going to Keyshawn Boutte. 13 yards. Paulson Adebo with the coverage. 13-yard pass. Third down and 8 at the Giant 33. Nice job by Booty. Already has a touchdown in this game. So many weapons for New England. Maybe not the biggest names, but obviously with this philosophy with McDaniels, May makes everyone look good. Nice route there by Booty. 3rd down and 8 at the Giants 33. Shotgun set. Trips right. 4 wide receiver set with 1 running back there in the backfield. Shotgun set for May. Pressure off the edge. May going deep. 1-on-1. Caught. Touchdown, Patriots. Kyle Williams. Wow. And again, it's kind of like that Jameson Williams deep threat, except it's not Jameson, it's Kyle for New England. And that's kind of what he's known for those deep go routes. And Kyle Williams with a 33-yard touchdown catch over the shoulder. 1, 2. Wow. Unbelievable job there by Drake May and Kyle Williams. Same thing you typically get from Jared Goff to Jameson Williams on the Lions. Beautiful. Extra point is up and good. 24-7 New England. And this is, something that you can see that, if it ended up being, the Patriots and the Broncos in the AFC Championship game, how tough, it would be for Denver, if New England is rolling. They definitely seem like the most well-rounded team in the AFC by quite a bit. Extra point is up. And good. 24-7 New England. Let's see if we can get Jackson Dart with a touchdown before halftime to make it 24-14. Gained another sub since the last commercial break. Thank you so much. 88 subs to go to 23,400. Shout out to all the new subs that we've acquired recently. Gained about 40 or 50 within the last few days. So appreciate you guys very, very much. 3:29 left here in the second quarter. 24-7 Patriot lead there with Drake May and that touchdown pass to Kyle Williams. A thing of beauty. And hopefully we'll be able to see Jackson Dart do the same thing for the Giants before halftime. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 24-7 lead here by the Patriots. No shock, no surprise. But hopefully Dart will be able to impose his will. And the Giant defense will be able to make a couple plays in the second half to make this a little bit closer. New England is going to win, but hopefully the Giants can, put up, 20-ish points before the game is over. Hopefully, at that point, New England might be at the 40 range, but we'll see where it goes. Monday Night Football. Eagles and Chargers, a very intriguing matchup. Obviously, we know Herbert has been a little banged up. Slater and Alt, the offensive line is banged up, but obviously, you would assume the Chargers will have a very good chance of winning that game over Philadelphia. Philly hasn't really been playing the best ball lately, and, if Herbert and Ladd McConkey and the defense can make some plays, you never know. Chargers could end up winning that. Kickoff. Giants with the good return here. Ooh, blasted fumble! And the ball is out. I don't know if he ended up getting concussed there or if his knee was down, but man, he got hit hard. Ooh, helmet to helmet, and mouthpiece went flying, and that definitely was a fumble. But another helmet to helmet, and we want to avoid those kind of hits. And New England has done it a couple times today. And Ellis is the one that had that legal but big hit on Dart on the sideline. And again, another giant injury here. And I imagine Gunner will be not coming back to this game. I'm pretty sure that's a concussion. I don't think he knows where he is at the moment. All right, Patriots about to score another touchdown here. It's about to be 31-7, I guess, here in a moment after that big hit on special teams. And that's why, New England is the best team in the AFC as far as being well-rounded. We know Denver's got a great defense, but it's not like New England's is that far behind. And special teams and offense are better in New England than they are in Denver. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out in the AFC. But, it definitely feels like the Patriots are the most well-rounded, but will they be the team that represents the AFC? We have to wait and find out. Shotgun set, Drake May, short right to Mac Hollins, 11-yard gain. First down and 10 at the Giant 16. Move the chains. First down, Patriots. May's got some great footwork there in the pocket. And we got about 3 minutes to go. But unfortunately, turnovers and injuries are the story of the New York Football Giants here in 2025. Ramondre Stevenson run up the middle for 4 yards. Phillips and company with the coverage. Second down and 6 at the Giants 12. This feels like it's almost inevitable where you're going to get another Patriot touchdown here in a moment or two. .79% completion percentage. I mean, anytime you're in the 70s or the 80s, you're on a whole nother level. So efficient, Drake May in 2025. But if Rabel wasn't there with McDaniels, we may not see this version of Drake May. And they're going to let the clock wind down, and now it is the 2-minute warning. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 24/7 Patriots. 2-minute warning. Second down and 6 at the Giants 12. And we'll see if the Giants can hold them to a field goal, but realistically, they'll probably end up punching this in a play or two. Oh, let's take a quick look to see what Drake May is working with here. 11 for 14 with 2 TDs. Gosh, so good. Let's Dart at 6 for 8 with 1 TD. Singletary and Tracy combined for only 43 yards on the ground. Dart with 1 carry for 12. That ain't going to get you dubs, and 6 carries for 36 yards for Ramondre Stevenson, 4 carries for 23 for Trayvon Henderson. All right, let's see what we got here as we get towards the end of the first half. Shotgun set, Drake May, short left to Ramondre Stevenson for a yard. Barnes with the tackle. 3rd down and 5 at the Giants 11. And we get a timeout by the Giants. And there's still a couple of decent players, with Abdul Carter and, Brian Spider Burns with his sacks this year. No Kayvon Thibodeau today, but, again, there's a reason why the Giants are 2-10 and 0-7 on the road. So, obviously, having Scadaboo and Neighbors would definitely give them more options, on the offensive play calling sheet. But, they're far from being a complete team. So. Dank in the building. What's good? Could be. You never know. It's definitely a possibility. 3rd down and 5. May incomplete to Hunter Henry. And now that's going to be 4th down and 5 at the Giant 11. And I assume the field goal unit will be out here. And it is up and good. 27-7 New England. Now let's see if we can get a touchdown by Dart here in the last 2 minutes. Minute 48 to make it 27-14. We already know the Giants are going to lose, but if we can at least have a little bit of excitement, with a few touchdowns, in each half for the Giants would be great. Dank, I did. How about yourself? You have a good one with you and the fam? It's my favorite holiday of the year. All the leftovers are gone at this point, but definitely had a great time with family, friends, food, and the football. And, obviously I'm going to keep grinding here on the channel, regardless if it's my birthday, Thanksgiving, or Christmas. We'll, work, on those holidays and those celebration days as well. And we'll be off the next 2 days. And we'll be back on Thursday for the Cowboys and the Lions. Really looking forward to that. Saturday will be the Big Ten Championship. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Looking forward to doing that. And then we'll be back at it with the Chiefs and the Texans on Sunday night. And then the Eagles and the Chargers on Monday night. So some pretty good matchups the rest of the week. And definitely looking forward to it. There you go. Sounds like you got all your bases covered. It's definitely been getting colder out here in the Pacific Northwest. I went on a walk with the pup and definitely had to put the pup coat on her. And again, it's probably in the, high 20s, low 30s when you can go out there and, you can see your breath and whatnot. So we're not getting snow like some people in Canada and the Midwest, but it definitely is starting to cool down in Oregon and Washington. And I don't know if we're going to get any snow this year, but usually in January and February, we have a better chance, but you never know. And 58-yard kick, 24-yard return there by Devin Singletary. 1st down and 10 at the Giant 31. I don't mind really the cold weather, though. I kind of prefer it. So, I mean, it's one thing to have it cold, and it's another thing to have it just being pouring down rain for like 2 weeks. So, all right, let's see if Jackson Dart can get them down the field for at least a field goal at the very least, but I'm hoping a touchdown if possible. Shotgun set, Dart incomplete, short right to Theo Johnson. Carlton Davis, the former Buccaneer, with the coverage. 2nd down and 10 at the Giant 31. Let's go, Jackson. Almost intercepted to Carlton Davis. Almost got his hands on that one. Very close. Shotgun set, Dart, short right to Theo Johnson. 5-yard gain, Woodson with the tackle. 3rd down and 5 at the Giant 36. About a minute and a half left before we go into halftime. Come on, Dart. And obviously having Scatterboo and Neighbors gives you more options for Dart to be successful, but unfortunately, both of those guys are out. Minute 33 and counting. 27-7 Patriots, up by 20. Jackson Dart, shotgun set, short middle to Isaiah Hodgins. Christian Gonzalez in the coverage. 4th down and 1 at the Giant 40. Shows you if you have the right coach in the right situation, you can go from back-to-back 4-win seasons and, find a way that now you're 10-2 and looking like maybe the best team in the AFC besides Denver. Are they trying to see if it ended up hitting the ground or not? Timeout, New England. Chason took a little bit of a knee there. He's a jumping knee as he's trying to throw that ball. Look at Dart with that athleticism. He's lucky he even got that ball to Theo Johnson to make that catch. Nice job by Dart. And that's going to be delay a game. Come on, Giants. 4th down and 6 at the Giant 35. And they do get the ball in the second half, but you're going in the wrong direction here. You definitely needed to keep this at 4th and 1, and now it's going to be 4th down and 6. And instead of possibly getting a 1st down, you're more than likely now having to punt. Yeah, you try to draw them off sides, ain't going to work. All right, they're going to give them a few more yards, a little bit more room to kick. We got a minute 13 left here before halftime. And Gillen with the punt. Fair caught there by Marcus Jones. 1st down and 10 at the New England 23. And if you're the Giants at this point, you have to pray that they don't get in the end zone again and making it 34-7 at half. But, the way that Drake May has been playing, nothing is out of, the ordinary, on this offense. You never know. Nothing could be out of the question if you have Drake May back there. Shotgun set, May, short left to Mac Hollins. 7-yard gain. 2nd down and 3 at the New England 30. Little hurry up here with the no huddle. Shotgun set, May, short middle to Demario Douglas, finally getting a catch. 15-yard pass. 1st down, Patriots. 1st down and 10 at the New England 45. I don't know, a lot of athletes, got the earrings and the grills and the chains, as long as it's not preventing you from, making plays, it's not hurting anybody. Dart's got some swagger and a little aura about him, so. Shotgun set, no huddle, Drake May. Short right to Ramondre Stevenson. Go, go, go. 1st down, Patriots. Move the chains. 36-yard pass from May to Stevenson. And again, you can see why, this team is so well-rounded, and again, Denver, has a great record. But again, as far as offense, defense, and special teams, this is the best team in the AFC as far as being the most well-rounded. Denver's great at D. Special teams and O could be a little bit better, but New England showing, the world, how deep they are on all their position groups. First down and 10. Shotgun set, May, short middle to Demario Douglas, 9-yard pass. Holland and Adebo with the coverage and tackle. Second down and 1 at the Giant 10. And timeout is called, and it looks like they're going to be able to get a cheap field goal here right at the end. Great 2-minute drill by the New England Patriots, and that's what they do. Vrabel gets the timeout, and should be 30-7 here momentarily. It's one of the better 2-minute drills I've seen this season. Obviously, we know the Giants, are not a very good football team. Kick is up and good. 30-7, New England lead at half. Borregala's having a nice season. 1-for-1 tonight. And we got 12 minutes until halftime is up. And we'll be back into the action. New England pacing for 60. New York pacing for 14. New England doing exactly what they're supposed to do at home. Kick ass and take names. Two straight wins when leading by 10-plus points at halftime. Last loss, 2014 at the Dolphins. And, Giants aren't coming back in this particular game. There's no doubt about that. All right, we got 11 minutes before we get into the second half. I'm going to go check up on my pup here real quick, and then we'll get back into the action here momentarily. And we just got to kind of wait for all of the, championship games, to finish. And then we can kind of see, where the dust settles, and who's going to be in and who's not, based off the committee and whatnot. So it'll be very interesting on who gets in. And not only that, where they place these certain teams, with the rankings and whatnot. So. I'm going to go check up on my pup. Showtime. I'll be right back here in just a couple of minutes. All right, my pup is doing good, sleeping, relaxing. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Oregon, ends up, getting placed and whatnot. And, regardless if, we end up having a bye or, if we end up, having to play every week like the Buckeyes did last year, it's going to be, one of those things. If you play, on a consistent basis, you probably have a better chance to gain that continuity and chemistry to keep, the Dubs going. And obviously, if you have 2 to 3 weeks off, depending on how you prepare, and depending on also on injuries and who gets healthy, that could end up being a determining factor for some of the teams in the college football playoff. And obviously, we're going to be losing our offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator to new teams. They're going to both be head coaches. So we'll see, where that goes. And with Will Stein, agreeing to, be with Kentucky, and, obviously our defensive coordinator might be the head coach of Cal or one of these other schools. So, we'll see where it goes and where the dust settles with those. But, we can always upgrade and hire within, internally. And if we decide to go outside of the Oregon family, I imagine we'll be able to find, pieces that will be just fine for Oregon at OC and DC next year. So, but I like our chances. I feel like, right now where I think we're the third best team, behind the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. And, again, any of those three teams could end up winning the Natty, and I don't think anyone would blink an eye. Obviously, it would be tougher for Oregon than maybe Indiana or Ohio State. But again, if you match up with those two teams, Indiana early and then the Buckeyes in the Natty, obviously you have to play a perfect game to beat Indiana and Ohio State, so it definitely wouldn't be easy. But if there were a team that could do it, Oregon would definitely be one of the top teams to possibly do that feat. You got Georgia and a few of these other teams next to Oregon as well, but I'm not sure if they're as good as, Ohio State, Indiana, or Oregon at this point in the season. It's halftime, 30-7, Patriot lead. We got about 7 minutes to go here before we get into the second half kickoff. Giants are going to be receiving that second half kickoff, and hopefully Dart will be able to march down the field to get it to 30-14. Yeah, and if you looked at all the teams that had the bye, everyone lost last year. So it's like you could be 12-0, and 11-1, and end up having a bye. And if you have 2 to 3 weeks off, and then all of a sudden you go against a team that's been playing every week, no matter how good your team is, if you're not playing football and you're not, being able to keep up with that routine, sometimes that ends up, being the deciding factor, even if you think your team is better, but again, teams that are going to be hot and healthy sometimes end up, going the distance. And it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out in the college football playoff as well as the NFL playoffs this year. Well, 30-7, yeah. I mean, if we're speaking just based off the score alone, is the game over? Obviously, we still have a second half to go, but essentially it is, with the Giants being down by 23. But, I didn't make the schedule for the NFL for this Monday night game. So hopefully Dart will be able to do a few things, to at least get them hopefully to 20 before the game ends. But the only problem is New England is pacing for 60. We've got about 5 minutes to go here before the second half starts. 30-7 New England lead. I believe in miracles too, but there's just not going to be a miracle here today. Now, if Scattaboo and Neighbors and Kayvon Thibodeau were playing, they would have probably more points than they do now. But, New England's one of the best teams in football. Clearly, to me, the most well-rounded team in the AFC, even better than Denver, even though Denver is a good team. But the Patriot offense is better, as well as their special teams. And again, we might end up seeing a Bronco-Patriot AFC championship game. Wouldn't shock me one bit. And again, for the Giants, they have a long ways to go to not even being a good team, but we'll see on what direction they decide to go. But I do like Scattaboo. I do like Malik Neighbors. I do like Jackson Dart. I do like Abdul Carter. I do like Brian Spider-Burns. And I do like Kayvon Thibodeau. So at least you got like 6 pieces, 3 on the offense and 3 in the defense that are, core pieces you can build around. But they still got a long ways to go. Got about 3 minutes to go here before halftime is up. Yeah, but the thing is they're not going to get rid of the conference championship games because it's all about money. The more games that are played, the more money that can be made. That's really all it's about. It's not about the players. It's not about the school. It's about money, and that's it. More money for that university, and that's just how it goes. So, they don't really think of it as how fans would put it. What would be like the smartest way, to make it fair and to have the best teams play. They don't care about that. Because again, you get some people in the committees that end up voting, that don't even watch games on the West Coast late, and it shows based on who they're putting in their top 25. So again, it's definitely biased. For some of these people that don't stay up late and watch West Coast football, and you definitely can look at those people that are putting in their votes, on where they place these teams, and a lot of them aren't watching, games that are on late, which is unfortunate. There's always going to be a West Coast bias, and that's never going to change. But they'll never get rid of the conference championship games. They'll always keep them. All right, 2 minutes to go here before halftime, and the Giants receive the second half kickoff. 30-7, Patriot lead. Yeah, but they don't care about that. What makes sense to a lot of us as fans, they could care less. It really comes down to money, popularity, and based on the teams that are in the playoff. What are the teams that are going to get the most eyeballs on the product? Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. All right, less than a minute to go before we get into the second half. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. All right, come on, Jackson Dart. We know that you're missing out with your buddy Scattaboo and Malik Neighbors, and you're getting absolutely manhandled here and stomped. But, if you can get to 20 before the game is over, 20 or 21, I think that would be a success. You assume that New England will run the ball a good chunk of the second half, to kind of bleed the clock out, but there's still a chance that they could get to into the high 40s or the 50s before this game is over. No, you're cool. It doesn't bother me. Again, I'm a big college football fan. I've been watching college football in the NFL, since the mid 80s, since I've been 3-4 years old. So, I've definitely been keeping up. Hell, I used to watch Oregon back when they would win like a game or two for a full season. So to be able to see where Oregon has come in the last 25 years, and again, obviously being a Browns fan, there's usually not a whole lot to get excited about. Every 5 to 8 years, the defense might be able to have a quarterback on the opposite end like Flacco a couple years ago, where you end up, getting, a wild card or winning the division. But obviously, a franchise that, maybe not necessarily is cursed, but again, it hasn't really had the consistency or the correct ownership, GM, coaches, coordinators to really make that work. So, obviously, if you're more of a college football fan, there's nothing wrong with that. So what are the teams that you typically watch for like football? And so obviously Browns is the team, but obviously hard to watch, besides Myles Garrett. At least you got one, like if you were going to buy a Browns jersey, that would be the one to buy. I'm more of a defensive guy myself and whatnot, but offensively, not a whole lot to root for on that end, but, but the defense, obviously is always something that, they've been pretty good with Myles Garrett being there. So, and the last time the Browns were like good, maybe back in the Bernie Kosar days, back when I was a kid, back when you had like the Browns and the Broncos going at it in the, AFC championship game and whatnot, back in that old school era. So, and they've obviously had a few good teams since then, since the Bernie Kosar era, but they're very far and few between, as you know. Borregales there with the kick, and Singletary with a nice 30-yard return. First down and 10 at the Giant 29. Shotgun set, dart, short left to Wan'Dale Robinson. 8-yard pass. Second down and 2 at the Giant 37. A pretty good play there for some good chunk yardage on first down. Second down and manageable, and hopefully Dart will be able to run into the end zone or throw another touchdown here on this particular drive. Yeah, but obviously drafting Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel was a mistake. That should have never happened. If you're going to grab a quarterback, grabbing like Dart would have been the best choice, but obviously a lot more holes than, just that particular position. Feels like the Browns have gone through like 50 quarterbacks in the last 20 years because they have. No huddle. Tracy going towards that right guard for a 3-yard gain. Nice job there by Tyrone. First down, Giants. Move the chains. First down and 10 at the Giant 40. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to draft like one quarterback if you want Gabriel and you believe in him, or Shedeur Sanders, but why the hell would you draft two when you have like offensive line and all these other skill position players that need to be filled on the offense and the defense, and you decide to use 2 of your picks on quarterbacks? That's the dysfunction, in Cleveland. It's like the Jets and a few of these other places where a lot of the fan base doesn't have a whole lot of hope, based on the decision making, which normally isn't very good, year in and year out, which is a damn shame. Shotgun set, no huddle, dart going deep to Theo Johnson. That's caught. First down, Giants. 18-yard pass there from Dart to Theo Johnson. I like that. Nice little floater and great athleticism by Theo to get it at the high point. First down, New York Football Giants. Move the chains. There we go. 30-7, New England lead, but the Giants are driving. Let's go, Dart. Let's go, Theo. No huddle, shotgun set, Dart, short left to Wan'Dale Robinson, 2-yard gain. Barmore with the tackle. Second down and 8 at the New England 40. Yeah. I mean, I feel like with Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, they're more like backup quarterbacks, not really starters, And the whole entire division is a mess. I honestly am rooting for the Bengals to, win out and win the division, because at least Joe Burrow is fun to watch. The Ravens and Steelers aren't fun to watch this year, and obviously with Cleveland, the defense is awesome, but the offense is not fun to watch. So, if I had to choose one team, realistically, it'll probably be, the Ravens over the Steelers. But if I had my choice, I would just try to have Burrow, get in, and that's going to be the most exciting part of the North, is Burrow to chase. So, but they don't have a defense, so who knows? But they might end up getting close like they did last year and barely miss it. But I feel like if the Bengals were to get in, they would have the best shot on winning a game in the playoffs rather than the Steelers or the Ravens. Both of those teams are a mess. And for the Ravens, with Lamar and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers and all these amazing weapons, really what holds them back is bad coaching and play calling. People don't realize how bad it's been. Shotgun set, Dart, short left to Tyrone Tracy Jr., loss of 3. Fourth down and 6 at the New England 38. Yeah, but also, too, the two quarterbacks are completely different from each other. You know, Dylan Gabriel is a guy that is, selfless about the team, not him. And Shedeur is the complete opposite. It's about me, about me being in the media. Hey, I'm Dion's son, so it's like two of the complete opposite people, someone that's going to, be a really good locker room guy, and then a guy that's kind of going to be in it for himself. So maybe that's the reason why they picked, those two quarterbacks, because they're so different from each other. Kind of one guy that's more of a me guy and one guy that's more of a team guy. But bottom line, both of them aren't good enough to start in the NFL, in my opinion. They're backup QBs, not starters. And pass incomplete to Theo Johnson, and that's going to be a turnover on downs. First down and 10 now at the New England 38. Yeah, definitely New England will get 11 more points. I mean, they're at 30. They're pacing for 60. And even if they run the ball, to kind of bleed the clock out, it's probably safe to say that they're going to get a minimum, of probably 17 more points before this game is over. And then as much as, 28, probably the maximum, they could end up getting to 58, if everything goes their way, offense, defense, and special teams. I mean, hell, they already got a special teams touchdown already as well, so. Yeah, Browns front office doesn't have a plan. I mean, obviously, and they're not the only front office that doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, the Jets don't know what they're doing year in and year out, and it definitely shows you the teams that have a great owner, a great GM, a great head coach, great coordinators. It trickles down, and if you actually have elite people in the front office, you can have average players turn into good players, based off the coaching. And again, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end are the most overrated positions in football. Those are the ones the media covers, but it's about O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, and play calling. That's what creates winners, in this league. But if you're too stupid to figure that out, and you think it's going to only be based off quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, then you're going to be in a position where the Browns and the Jets have been for a very long time. So unfortunate, but true. Yeah. But even though it might be great value, if you get someone that's more of a me guy than a team guy, is that really something that you want on a team that you already have dysfunction? It's just going to make it worse, attitude matters, and what you do on the field and off the field matters, and there's certain guys, again, if they're a red flag, there's a reason like why Tampa is so good at drafting. Anyone that has these kind of questionable tendencies, they get immediately kicked off the board. I mean, really, we haven't had too many mistakes, and we usually have the most, guys drafted that are starters in the league, and there's a reason why, based on the scouting that we do. And, especially if you end up having someone that's a great athlete, but if you got a shitty attitude, yeah, we're not going to draft them. And that's the reason why we've had so much success, obviously with the organization. So. Yeah, but Fields can't throw. He's not a good enough thrower to make it. You know what I mean? He could be like a gimmick quarterback where you could bring him in on certain plays, like a Taysom Hill, but he just doesn't have the accuracy. Again, he can run, and run RPO, but he just doesn't have, enough accuracy to make it. And obviously if you go to a team, like the Niners or the Rams, you can get the most out of, quarterbacks there. Like imagine if you got Trevor Lawrence and you brought him to the Niners, it would take his game to another level, but Fields doesn't have enough of an arm or an accuracy to be a good quarterback in this league, in my opinion. You might like him, but I don't think that, and then the only way that you would get the most out of him is if he ended up going to the Niners or the Rams, and that probably won't happen. If you can get a quarterback guru like Shanahan or Sean McVay, that might be the thing that could help, but he's kind of limited on what he can do. But if you're a Buckeye fan and you have confidence in all Buckeye players, not every Buckeye is created equal. 8-yard run there by Drake May. Abdul Carter there with the tackle. First down and 10. Patriots. They're at the New England 49. I mean, we can all love our players, from our, schools and that we root for. That doesn't mean every Buckeye or Duck is going to pan out. So some will pan out, some won't. Nice run there by Drake May to get that first down.
Yeah, but he's nowhere near as being as accurate as Lamar. He's not even the same stratosphere. I think you have some false hope just because he's a Buckeye, you know. But if you continue to think that he can do it, I mean, that's you, you know. But if you've seen what he can do, you know, based on the teams that he's been on and whatnot, you know, and obviously there's a reason why the Bears gave up on him, you know. And I don't think Caleb is really the greatest quarterback, but Caleb can at least throw, you know. I mean, just some guys are built for the NFL, other guys aren't, you know. Drake May, short left to Demario Douglas, 9-yard pass, first down and 10 at the Giant 40. Move the chains. You know, and again, you know, you have to be smart, you know, and you also have to be coachable. And, you know, some guys have it, some guys don't, you know, and I don't think he's very mentally strong either. You know, again, he's obviously not been in the best situations, but, you know, not everyone will turn out, you know, the way that we want, you know, based off, you know, our fandom. Shotgun set, May, short left to Booty, 9-yard pass, second down and 1 at the Giant 31. About 7 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Drake May methodically breaking down this Giant team. Paulson Adebo with that last tackle. Travion Henderson off to that right side. No gain. Third down and 1 at the Giant 31. And Ramondre Stevenson up the middle, loss of 5. Fourth down and 6 at the Giant 36. So a little bit of an effort here by the Giant D in the third quarter, obviously down by 23. It's not like they're going to come back, but still would like to be able to see a little bit of effort on both sides of the ball. And I would love to see the Giants and Dart get to 20 or 21 points before this one is up, but that might be too much to ask. Yeah, but I mean, you know, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and, you know, Hawkinson. I mean, if it takes that much talent for you to be a decent player, then obviously it's not on him. It's the players that are around him, you know, that you could put any quarterback on the Vikings, you know, if the offensive line could protect, and you're going to be able to put up numbers like Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold did, you know. I mean, Jesus Christ, if you have to have that much talent to actually be able to be a threat, then, you know, you probably shouldn't be a starting quarterback, you know. To me, he's more of a backup quarterback, you know. He's more of a QB, you know, a backup QB rather than a starter, so. Well, that's the Vikings being stupid. I mean, why would you draft a guy after going 14-3 with Darnold that doesn't throw the football? They would run the football and play good defense on Michigan. And then that's the guy that you want to be able to have take over. And that's, you know, essentially went, you know, in the wrong direction. I mean, picking J.J. McCarthy took that franchise backwards like 5 years, you know. So that's more of a front office and, you know, a Kevin O'Connell bugaboo. Like, why would you draft someone that's that shitty? You know, what did you think? And then on top of that, with the injuries and everything else. But, you know, I don't think I've ever seen a team draft a quarterback that normally doesn't throw the ball. Like, why would you do that? You know, and you can definitely tell with Addison, Hawkinson, and Jetta, they don't want to be there. You know, if they're not going to be able to get the ball, I mean, everyone's in hell over there. You know, they don't want to play there anymore, you know, but obviously they're making millions of dollars. So, you know, they're obligated, but they definitely are looking for someone that can actually get them the ball. I think you just have too much false hope in Fields because you're a Buckeye fan. You know, just some guys, you know, are made for this league, you know, and others, you know, maybe not so much, you know. I mean, even if you put him on a team like the Vikings, it's not like Fields would be a top 10 quarterback in the league. You know, he's always going to, you know, even if he was in a great situation, you know, Rams or Niners or, you know, even the Vikings. I mean, what's the highest that he would be in the NFL? You know, I don't think he would be in the top 10. I mean, depending on the situation, you know, maybe borderline top 10, you know, like Rams or Niners, but it's really about coaching. And you're not going to get the coaching, you know, on the Vikings like you do on the, you know, Niners and the Rams. So, and May incomplete to Trayvon Henderson. Field goal unit is coming out. Field goal is up and no good. Wow. Borregales with the miss, and we already seen Koo with the miss as well. 30-7 Patriots. Yeah, that's probably the worst quarterback pick I've seen in the last maybe 20 years, you know, for a team that, you know, actually has a lot of skill position players, you know, but again, very, very confused, you know, by that. Like, imagine if Jackson Dart, you know, was on the Vikings, like how much better that team would be, you know, with all the weapons that they have. You know, they could actually be a playoff team, you know, but again, injuries have hurt that team pretty dramatically. And, you know, now it kind of feels like Minnesota might be the old Chicago Bears, where they're going to be at the bottom of the division for quite some time, regardless if they have Jeddah, Addison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, or a few guys on defense. So obviously the Bears with Ben Johnson are great. Packers and Lions, you know, Packers and Lions are kind of up and down. Feels like the Lions are kind of going down, and, you know, Packers are, you know, staying afloat. And obviously the Bears are at the top, and Bears had a very easy schedule, but it was a very good, you know, victory against the Eagles, running the ball, playing great D, and, you know, we'll see where it goes. First down and 10 at the Giant 27. After that, blocked field goal. Oh, I disagree with that. The running game ain't fucking average. Ramondre Stevenson and Trayvon Henderson, that's not fucking average. Come on, guy. And Trayvon was on your Buckeyes. Running game is great. You know, you got two guys that can get in the end zone, and you know how many teams would be drooling if they could get those two guys on the team? Hell, even one of those guys. And it's about coaching, right? You got Vrabel with the defense, you got McDaniels on the offense, and especially if you have the right coach and the right coordinators, you know, May is making everyone around him, but it's the good offensive line play that's allowing him to go through his progressions to make guys like Mac Hollins look good. You know, they got Hunter Henry, you know, and obviously when you bring a guy like Diggs onto a team, every time Diggs has been on a team, that quarterback has gotten better, whether it's Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen, and then obviously now with Drake May. And, you know, and again, so it's about philosophy, offensive line, and then again, when you have a player that has time, you know, with the right coach and the coordinators around him, then he can make guys like Mac Hollins and Kyle Williams a name, you know, and that's what good teams do. But you got to think, you know, they have essentially the same team with a few new free agents and a few rookies, you know, but to go from 4 wins, you know, in back-to-back years and to see what you're doing now with a 10-2 team, you know, New England is, you know, probably the best team in the AFC. So, you know, Drake May, you know, again, if Vrabel wasn't the coach, you know, we're probably not talking about Drake May today, you know, as being an MVP candidate and whatnot. It's like, you know, they love to go with former New England players, but sometimes that's just not the right guy, you know, and getting Vrabel and McDaniels is the perfect fit. and just like with Ben Johnson and the Bears. If Ben Johnson isn't coaching the Bears are probably in last place. So, sometimes if you have the right, leadership, the right scheme, the right philosophy, and people buy in, then you get better results. So. Four-yard run there by Dart up the middle. Second down and 3, turns down to first down and 10. Shotgun set. Dart, short left to Wandale Robinson, 7-yard pass. Second down and 3 at the New England 47. Yeah, but also another reason why they're 22nd is because they throw so much. If they wanted to be able to run the ball more, they might be, top 10 or top 15 in rushing. So, they do throw the ball quite a bit. So, if the offense was more 50-50 or 60-40 with the run game, then, I'm just saying that the talent that they have with Stevenson and obviously Trayvon Henderson, there's not a lot of teams that have that type of athleticism at running back. Yeah, they may not be ranked high, but that doesn't mean that those players aren't good. They can get into the end zone. And plus, Ramondre was injured, for a good chunk of the season. So, shotgun set, Tracy up the middle for a 9-yard run. First down and 10 at the New England 38. Tracy running towards that right side, another 8-yard gain. Second down and 2 here at the New England 30. All right, come on, Dart. We got to get in the end zone. Got to try to get to at least 17 at the very minimum before this game is over. But I think with the talent, with Ramondre Stevenson and Trayvon Henderson, if they were to, run the ball more, they could definitely be a top 10 rushing team with those two backs. Got about a minute left here in the third quarter. 30-7 New England. Whistle is blown. All right, timeout, New England. And it looks like he had an issue with his helmet or whatnot, so they're trying to get that fixed. Tracy up the middle for a 4-yard gain. Robert Spillane there with the tackle. First down and 10 at the New England 26. So at least they're getting close to field goal range, and hopefully they'll be able to punch it in for 6. Yeah, but your quarterback is only as good as, your coach and your coordinators and your supporting cast. Coaches fail more quarterbacks than quarterbacks fail coaches. And again, if you can find the right combination, then you're going to have that success, but if you don't have the right coach, coordinators, or supporting cast, then, you can look at what Drake May did early on, and then now to see what he's doing with this coaching staff now. It's a night and day difference. And the Patriots spent a lot of money in the offseason and hit on a lot of their draft picks that are getting production, and that definitely helps as well. Four-yard run there by Tracy, running to that right side. Chase on with the tackle. Third down and 5 at the New England 21, and that will be the end of the third quarter. Chief in the building. What's good, brother? $30-7 New England. We kind of had an idea that this was going to end up being a blowout, but still want to be able to, evaluate the quarterbacks and Dart and May. And again, New England is a very, very seasoned team with great coaching, great special teams, great offense and defense. Clearly the most well-rounded team in the AFC. And again, I would not be shocked if we end up getting a Patriots Broncos AFC championship game. But again, the Bills, as well as the Ravens and the Steelers and the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Colts and the Jags and the Texans will say otherwise, but again, it's clear, on who the three best teams I feel right now, even though they're going to be on and off at times, but obviously with the Patriots and then obviously the Broncos at the top. And then if I had to choose a third team, I probably would go Bills with Josh Allen and Cook, even though the defense for the Bills stinks. A lot of times if Allen and Cook are on, sometimes that's just enough to be able to beat, teams, in the AFC and sometimes in the NFC. But, we will find out if that ends up being the case, in the playoffs. Yeah, I watch a little bit of everything. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes. 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And the Patriots are more well-rounded than the Broncos. They're better on offense than the Broncos and better on special teams, it feels like, game in and game out. But, anything can happen in the playoffs. But obviously the NFC is much deeper. Eagles are starting to kind of go on a downward trend, kind of like the Lions, but Cowboys, Buccaneers, and Panthers don't have a really great record, but they're getting hot at the right time. And then obviously the Eagles, Packers, Bears, and then you got 3 9-win teams, in the Hawks, the Rams, and the Niners. It's anybody's guess, on who's going to end up being there. Could end up being the Rams and the Eagles. But again, if the Eagles keep kind of playing the way they have, they may not even get to the NFC Championship game. Direct snap to Devin Singletary. Run! Touchdown, Giants. There we go. Nice touchdown there by the Giants. I mean, they're still getting blown out, but now they might be able to get to 20 before the game is over. I used to be a big basketball fan in the 80s and 90s, not so much anymore. I mean, I still watch the Blazers and I'll watch, games here and there. But, after watching basketball in the 80s and 90s compared to what it is now, it's almost unwatchable, honestly. Yeah, Texans got a great defense like the Broncos, but offense is kind of hit or miss. Jags, have an offense and defense at times looks good, but at other times not so much. And then the Colts, got a pretty good team, but then now, you got Daniel Jones has got a fracture, in his leg, and they've been dropping a few games lately. So Jonathan Taylor has been great at the running back position, but, I think the lack of playoff experience for that particular division may end up costing them. So. But obviously, it's clear that the AFC North and the NFC South for your team and my team, our conferences are the worst this year. But I feel like the Buccaneers and the Panthers could actually win a game. I don't know if anybody could win a game in the North besides maybe the Bengals with Burrow if he's on. And 2-point conversion is good. Slayton is complete. 30-15, New England. Here we go. Yeah. And again, we'll find out, with the Texans and the Chiefs going at it. It's very critical matchup there. And, obviously the Chiefs have been going kind of in a downward spiral, slightly like the Eagles, as well as the Lions. And obviously with the Texans, if CJ can play well, and we already know how good that defense is, defense wins games, defense wins championships. And, we'll see. The Texans could end up, leapfrogging the Jags and the Colts, but we have to look at the schedule and see how it kind of all plays out. Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like that, but I mean, the only thing that might be in your favor is the game is in Kansas City. So that might be the one thing that the fans might be able to rally you guys to a victory. But if the Texans, play like the Texans on defense, it could end up being a 3-point loss or something like, it should be pretty close regardless, you would assume, even if the defense is amazing for the Texans. We know the Chief offense still has weapons where they can still make it interesting, but if it ends up being a 1-score game, it could end up being another, game that ends up being decided between 7 points and less, and then, whoever has the ball last or, something of that nature. So 3 pieces on the O-line, man, that's tough. Yeah, but at least, again, you had your run. You ended up winning some championships, so you can't be, mad about that. But it definitely is shocking, to see a team that was so good for so many years and then to, just kind of go in the opposite direction and, kind of fall off the cliff, so to speak. But it's not just you, it's the Ravens and a few of these other teams as well. So it's not just like only Kansas City. It's like the Eagles haven't really looked that good. Obviously they have a few more wins, but they're kind of going on a downward slope. The Lions, can't call plays without Ben Johnson, and they don't look like they're the same team anymore. They built their team and they were going into the right direction, but it kind of felt like maybe last year was their last Super Bowl chance, even though it was like a short window. And again, we know the Lions are, still a pretty good football team, but the O-line and the defense are nowhere near where they need to be, and again, no Sam Laporta. Amon-Ra had that injury, obviously first play on Thanksgiving. You still got Gibbs and Montgomery and Goff, but it doesn't feel like the same kind of aura and mystique between the Eagles and the Lions anymore. They're still good teams and they could still make the playoffs, but how far are you going to go with those teams? We'll have to wait and see. So, and obviously I trust the Eagles more than the Lions at this point. Even though I don't really like what I'm seeing out of Hurts and Saquon and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Goddard, but with the defense and the special teams and what they have, it's more than likely the Eagles could, even with their problems, still make the NFC Championship game. Detroit, I don't think they have a chance to get to that point. So, but, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, that's, Eagle fans are passionate and they're drunk and they're crazy, and again, that it will be something that happens, regardless on how many Super Bowls that they've won recently, they're going to be very critical of their team no matter what. But again, the offensive line has been hurt, and that's really been the big difference. If you don't have the same offensive line, then your quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight ends aren't going to look the same, and that's exactly what's happened. You don't got Lane Johnson and you don't got a healthy O-line, then your offense is not going to look as good, and that's exactly what we've seen. People want to, blame it on Saquon or Hurts, but it's more than just the individual players. It's a team effort. 2-yard run there by Ramondre Stevenson. 2nd down and 8 at the New England 45. But we will see. Could be Rams Broncos, could be, Rams Patriots in a rematch, and then, you never know with like the Seahawks and a few of these other teams, anything is possible. 12-yard pass there by May to Trayvon Henderson. 12-yard gain, Barnes and company with the tackle. 1st down and 10 at the Giant 43. Shotgun set. Travion Henderson up the middle for a 2-yard gain. Alexander there with the tackle. I see you, Darius. 2nd down and 8 at the Giant 41. And thankfully, the Giants have at least cut into the lead and they're only down half the amount. Now it's only 30-15. But, I would love to see the Giants get to into the 20s before this game is over. Obviously, we knew New England was going to run the ball heavy in the second half because that's what good teams do. When you have a lead, you run the ball, you bleed the clock, but you're still going to have to throw the ball for a few first downs. Otherwise, the other team will eventually catch up, which the Giants are, but obviously it'll be a little too too late. And it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Nair Barnes with a nice sack lunch, which is pretty rare on Drake May in New England. 3rd down and 12 at the Giant 45. And you can see a little bit of Uncle Mo, the momentum starting to shift slightly to the Giants. But there is a very good possibility we get new teams that haven't been to the Super Bowl, this season in a minute or even at all. Drake May, short right. No, short left to Ramondre Stevenson. And that's a 4-yard pass, 4th down and 8 at the Giant 41. And I assume that this will turn into a punt. And we'll see if the Giants can get another touchdown here with Jackson Dart. I mean, just imagine if they had Scadaboo and Neighbors. It would be, they probably would be in the 20s by now. And delay a game. 4th down and 13 at the Giant 46 to give them a little bit more room to punt here. Well, I mean, they got a great coach. They got great running game, and they got, really good defense, and it's not like they need Caleb to throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns every game. So as long as he just doesn't fucking fumble the snap and, fumble it to the running back when he's handing it off and, throwing into triple coverage and whatnot, as long as you just don't turn the fucking ball over and be a game manager, they have a team, even though they had a very easy schedule, prior to that Eagle win, but that was a very impressive win. And, we'll find out week in and week out the rest of the way if they can actually beat good teams, because they have quite a few good ones on the schedule. So, it's possible that they could make the NFC Championship game, if they were able to overachieve. I mean, you got the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions, but you're probably not getting all 3 teams to make it. The same thing goes in the West, with the Rams, Seahawks, and Niners. You got 3 teams there with 9 wins, but you're probably not getting all 3 into the playoffs, and if you were to get 3 teams in the playoffs, it would probably be from the West rather than the North, even though we probably think the Lions are somewhat better than the Niners. But again, the Niners have Shanahan and Robert Saleh, and that's something that the Lions do not have, is good coaching at this point. Dan Campbell can't rely on Ben Johnson bailing him out anymore. And obviously for them going on 4th down, they can't convert anymore, the Lions, without Ben Johnson and his creativity, and it shows. And sometimes someone else's, they never really considered him garbage. They knew how great he was. But sometimes when you give up on a guy or another guy gets an opportunity, it really does show you how much they really miss, Ben Johnson. And again, if Ben Johnson was on the Lions still, maybe they're in first place, even with the injuries to Laporta and a few others. But it definitely doesn't feel like the same team that we've seen the last couple years without Ben Johnson calling plays. But it's anybody's guess, right? Cowboys, Buccaneers, and Panthers have shitty records, but they're starting to get, hot, right? And then obviously you got the Eagles, and then you got the Packers, Bears, and Lions, and then you got the Niners, Seahawks, and the Rams. So, it's a mess. You got a lot of teams in the NFC that are pretty fucking good. And even teams with shitty records like the Panthers, Buccaneers, and Cowboys have been playing good ball as of late for the most part, and anything can happen when you get into the playoffs. So, and then obviously in the AFC, right, you got your Denver Broncos and your New England Patriots, and obviously, Buffalo Bills, and then you still got the Ravens and the Steelers and the Bengals trying to figure out what's going on in that division, right? Still got the Chargers and Chiefs trying to battle it out for position and whatnot. Chiefs hanging on by a thread. And then you got the Colts and the Jags and the Texans trying to figure out who the best team in the South is. So, it's definitely, more heavy, with good teams in the NFC. But again, in these last, 5-6 weeks, a lot can change with injuries and a team getting hot and healthy at the right time. So again, it'll be very, very exciting to see how the college football playoff pans out, as well as the NFL playoffs as well, with the seeding and obviously the matchups. Unfortunately, if we ended up getting something like this, I don't know what the ratings would be like. It's like you have a opportunity, for certain teams to make it, but even though like New England might be the most like well-rounded team as far as like ratings, they're one of the worst for the AFC. Like, even though they're a good team, but like nobody cares. Nobody wants to watch them besides like Patriot fans, that's just the sad truth. There's not a lot of people, unless you're a huge Drake May fan, but as far as like NFL fans overall, a lot of them could care less, about New England, which is kind of a shame because they have actually put together a very good squad this year. But, for some fans, it's enjoyable, like myself, but for a lot of other fans, they don't give a shit about New England. So. I mean, honestly, if you're going to choose one team that's probably the most watchable in the AFC, it's probably the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen and Cook. So even though if they have no defense and it's non-existent, they're fun to watch because they put up points and, Allen and Cook are kind of easy to root for and whatnot. Loss of 2 there by Tracy, 2nd down and 12 at the Giant 12. Yeah, Rams Patriots would be interesting. It'd be a rematch, from back in the day, right? But again, obviously a majority of the fan base, for football would be going for the Rams. I don't think they would really be going for New England. It's like even when New England is good, people don't want to watch them. But it is cool to be able to see New England with an identity post Brady and Belichick. Like people thought it would be like 10 or 20 years before New England was good again. And, obviously with McDaniels and Vrabel, they've been able to find that key success. 2nd down and 12 at the Giants 12. We got 10:28 left in the 4th quarter. Giants down by 15. But if they can get a touchdown, on this drive, and make it 30-22, they're still going to lose, but at least it'll make it a little bit more interesting. Yeah, the Brady Goff. Anytime you have a Super Bowl that ends up being like 10-7 or 13-10, around that range, not the most enjoyable. Defenses were great for both of those teams, but the defenses were so good that the offenses couldn't do shit besides Gronk getting that big 1st down late, and then that ended up sealing the victory. But I mean, as far as like offense, and I'm a defensive oriented kind of fan, but even for me, yeah, that was probably the worst Super Bowl that we've had in the last 30 years. So it's like we can enjoy great defensive schemes, but at the end of the day, we want the Super Bowl to be in the 20s at the very least. I mean, once you start talking about single digits, for a team, it definitely is going to end up being a nightmare. So. Yeah, but the thing is with, Drake May, if he didn't have, the right, coaches there with Vrabel and McDaniels together, and they didn't end up hitting in the draft, with Travion Henderson and the free agents, again, you're going from a team that ended up only winning like 4 games, and now at 10-2. So it definitely shows you it's more about coaching, rather than the quarterback, and again, coaches fail quarterbacks more than quarterbacks fail coaching. And sometimes you have to go to your 2nd, 3rd, 4th team to be able to figure out your forever home like Baker Mayfield, and sometimes you just have to wait and pray that you get the right coach and coordinator, to be able to make you succeed. Because it's very possible, if they kept the old coach, that we're not even talking about Drake May today or ever, and he might end up going down the B word, the bust, but again, they ended up finding the right combination, thank God. And now you're actually seeing what Drake May was able to do at college, and he's, kind of translating his game now, into the NFL. But again, if you don't have Vrabel and McDaniels, then, we're probably not talking about Drake May today. So it's a guy that we're hoping that pans out, but, I don't think anybody anticipated the Patriots being 10-2, not even New England fans. Yeah. But also on the Niners, Chief, you could literally put any quarterback, any running back, any wide receiver, or any tight end on the Niners, and they're going to be successful with Kyle Shanahan. Same thing with Sean McVay. You could literally put almost anybody at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end because those guys are so intelligent with play calling and scheming, and they're going to get the most out of their players. Like imagine if Trevor Lawrence played on the Niners. He actually would be a top 10 quarterback for the very first time and maybe not be a bust, and again, it's like you're only going to get him so far in Jacksonville, but if you end up, bringing a quarterback that's been considered a failure to a team like that, then Trevor would turn into a top 10, top 8 quarterback, but if he stays on Jacksonville, you're only going to be, more than likely 11 through 15 like he has been, since he's been a starter on Jacksonville. So look at all the names at running back, wide receiver, and tight end that have been successful, as well as quarterback for the Niners, since Shanahan has been there. It's pretty much plug and play, and obviously the getting McCaffrey finally gave them an elite back that could run and catch. But look at all the other names of backs that they've had that have been kind of good, considering the O-line has been good, the play calling has been good, and the head coaching has been good. The only thing that Shanahan can't figure out is how to coach in the big game in the fourth quarter. Great in the regular season, great in the first 3 quarters. But when it comes to the fourth quarter, that's the only thing that he struggles at. And dart pass incomplete to Wan'Dale Robinson. 3rd down and 10 at the Giant 25. But again, not very many coaches are going to be as intelligent as Shanahan, and Sean McVay. And then with Shanahan, you got fucking Saleh back. And again, they, had DeMeco Ryans. Look at the success he's had with the Texans. So again, it's like if you can put together a great coaching staff, it really doesn't matter who the players are. You're going to get the most out of them. And again, you can have like average quarterback, average running back, average wide receiver, average tight end. But if your O-line is great, your D-line is great, and your coaching staff is great, then guess what? Those quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends go from average to good just based on the guys that are around them, the coaching staff and the O-line and the defense. Crazy how that works out, but that's how it goes. That's why there's too much focus, on quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, the most overrated, position groups. If your O-line is great, it'll make everyone better. But if you have great quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, and a shitty O-line, then guess what? You're not going to ever get the most out of your players because you're not going to be able to block and hit the holes for your running backs. And then your quarterback won't be able to get your great weapons the ball because he doesn't have time. And there is the punt. Marcus Jones, 13-yard return. And obviously, based off the field position, you wouldn't expect them to go for it there. But down 2 scores, it's not like the Giants are going to, coach this game as if they were actually going to win. But hopefully they'll be able to get one more touchdown before the game is over. Three RBs, 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. Roger Craig, obviously we know that one. Marshall Falk, another one. There you go. But is Christian McCaffrey the right answer, Chief O'Chief? You don't really see too many guys that are that talented to be able to do that, so. But you are correct. But the McCaffrey one doesn't really surprise anybody. You know, he definitely is the best, you know, run after catch, you know, back, you know, with screens and anything else. So we don't really see athleticism like that. And we saw how amazing Roger Craig was. Then Marshall Faulk started to do things that even Roger Craig couldn't do, like athleticism wise. And then now we're seeing McCaffrey do things that even Faulk couldn't do. And you're just progressively getting kind of better and better by the athletes in each era. So David Johnson, remember when he was a name for a couple years? Yeah, but again, if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you know, obviously the Craig and the, you know, Marshall Faulk is a given. And then obviously, you know, with the McCaffrey, it's like the most logical choice, but then it makes you kind of wonder, you know, for some people. But then if you've been paying attention to the stats or you play fantasy football, then you've seen the numbers. So 26-yard run there by Travion Henderson. Phillips with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Giant 30. Henderson is a better back to me than Ramondre Stevenson. Like Ramondre gets kind of injury prone and, you know, he's kind of more of a power back. You know, Travion Henderson is a power back, but with speed. And again, you know, a little bit more shifty, hits the hole a little bit better, more vision, and it got a better burst. You know, and to me, if I was the Patriots, I would be starting Travion Henderson and having Ramondre be the RB2 as the change of pace back. I just think he's overall a better athlete and a better player. And Ramondre's, you know, obviously as a capable back, you know, a guy that could get 10 touchdowns and 1,000 yards, you know, in a season if healthy. But I mean, if you're comparing running styles, I think it's pretty clear who the better back is. Touchdown, Patriots, but there's a flag on the play. And that's going to be offsetting. Illegal shift. And illegal contact there, and that Hunter Henry touchdown will go off the board to Vrabel's dismay. Henderson up the middle for a 6-yard gain. Zaire Barnes there with the tackle. Second down and 4 at the Giant 24. And Giant defense obviously has done a pretty good job considering they haven't given up any points, you know, for Drake May in New England in the second half, but also they haven't really been trying. You know, it's not like they've been throwing the ball and being as aggressive as they were in the first half. It's like, run the ball, we're ahead, we're trying to bleed the clock. And you have to assume that if New England was kind of putting their foot on the gas and going more towards a passing scheme, you know, that they probably would be in the high 40s or 50s by now. I mean, it makes it a little bit easier when you know that more than likely they're going to run the ball and, you know, you can put an extra guy down there in the box. 3-yard pass from May to Diggs, who's had a quiet night. Third down and 1 at the Giant 21. Yeah, that is kind of a wild stat, Chief. You know, too bad, you know, you couldn't have put together, you know, Priest Holmes with Mahomes. You know, Holmes and Mahomes would have a good, like, one, you know, ring to it. And, or Larry Johnson or Jamal Charles would be the best one. I mean, imagine if Jamal Charles played in the Mahomes era. That's probably exactly what you needed, you know, honestly. You know, Larry Johnson had some spark. Priest Holmes had some spark. But, you know, none of them were as good as Jamal Charles, though. Not in his prime. He was probably the best back that you've had besides, you know, old school Christian Okoye days. The Nigerian Nightmare. Timeout Giants. But that would be the guy that would fit the scheme, you know, in this era the best. You know, Mahomes and Jamal Charles. Man, could you imagine? Less than 5 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. 30-15, New England. I agree, Rob. I mean, at least it ended up not being, 50-0, even though it was pacing like it was going to be a ridiculous score. But I mean, I know how New England plays, like any good team, even Denver, they do the same thing. When they're up, you're going to run the ball, more, 70-30 in the second half to kind of bleed the clock out. But, again, you have to be careful with that type of strategy, because if you end up, just trying to hang on and win, sometimes you end up having self-inflicted wounds, penalties, mistakes that happen, or the other team just gets hot and lucky. And then all of a sudden that big lead turns into, a small lead, in the fourth quarter. I remember that game as well. Ramondre Stevenson with the carry. Got a few yards there. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Timeout Giants. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Bye-bye. $88 subs to get to 23,400. We'll be off on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll be back on Thursday for the Cowboys and the Lions. Looking forward to that. Loss of 3 after May slides out of bounds. 3rd down and 7 at the Giant 16. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the offense for both teams. Defenses aren't the greatest for either one, but yeah, it should be a very exciting back and forth, and hopefully it ends up being a 38-35 kind of game. I'm really looking forward to that. And then with the Chiefs and the Texans, should be much lower scoring, could end up being 20-17, but still I think could be entertaining as well. So, looking forward to those two different styles of games, and hopefully we end up getting into the 20s with the Texans and the Chiefs. But even if only one team gets to 20 plus, I still think it will be a close, good game. And then you got the Eagles and the Chargers on Monday night, which could be pretty exciting as well, especially if Herbert can get past the minor injury and can end up doing some damage with Ladd McConkey and company. Reaching for that first down, 1st and goal for the Patriots. Travion Henderson up the middle for a yard. Abdul Carter with the tackle. 2nd down and goal at the Giant 7. You have to assume there'll be a few, turnovers for Mahomes and Stroud if he starts, based off the defenses and whatnot. And I guess the Chiefs have to be lucky that they're going to be at home, not on the road, because if they're on the road, that might be a guaranteed loss, but at home, even if they play bad, they might be able to squeak it out, feeding off the crowd momentum, but they can't make too many mistakes, especially with that Texan defense, the way that it's been playing as of late. Broncos got the most sacks, but, as far as like points allowed and yards, Texans are number 1 in a few categories. Broncos number 1 in a few categories. And by far, those are the two best defenses. So, but it'll be a big game for both squads, both trying to hang on by a thread and make the playoffs. May incomplete to Hunter Henry. 3rd and goal at the Giant 7. Three minutes to go here. Still looking for our first dono on the dono train. Gained a few subs here today. And any kind of support that we can get with the likes, the subs, the views, and the donos would be greatly appreciated. Everything will go towards the internet, the streaming fee, and taking care of my pup. Field goal is up and good. 33-15 New England. So obviously they were able to put up at least a field goal in the second half, but let's see if we can get the Giants to get to 22 before this game is over. And at that point, 33-22 final, obviously would be, kind of fool's gold because it really wasn't that close, but sometimes you can get garbage points in the fourth quarter, and we'll see if the Giants and Dart can get some garbage points here in the last 2:14. All right, so let's peep this playoff picture. Broncos and Patriots at the top. And obviously the Jags are hanging on to first for now, but will they keep it? That's a big question with the Colts and the Texans. That could definitely change. North is terrible. I'm rooting for the Bengals to get that spot over the Ravens and Steelers, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. And then the Chargers should be a playoff team this year, unless they have an epic meltdown, and then you have a few of those teams on the outside looking in, like we were mentioning, with the Chiefs and the Texans. So, but it's clear that the NFC is better than the AFC this year. There's no doubt about that. And again, maybe the only team that doesn't have a defense in the AFC that could beat the Patriots or the Broncos might be the Buffalo Bills, and that's it. So, but we will see. Getting hot and healthy will be very important to a lot of these teams as we get down to the nitty-gritty, to the playoff picture. And definitely looking forward to college football playoff as well. All right, Drake May did his thing. Let's see if we can get Jackson Dart to do a little magic here and get a garbage touchdown before this one is over. Take care, Showtime. And I'll be back on Thursday for Thursday Night Football. Hopefully we'll see you then. With the schedule here for the Patriots: bye, Buffalo, Baltimore, Jets, Miami. All winnable games, maybe besides Buffalo, Broncos, Raiders, Green Bay, Jacksonville, KC, Chargers. Much tougher schedule for the Broncos. And then the Colts: Jacksonville, Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, and Houston. So as you're looking at those schedules, New England's schedule, incredibly easy. Broncos and Colts, incredibly difficult. So not going to be easy for those two teams whatsoever. Dart towards that sideline, complete. Nice job by Johnson there. Shotgun set. Dart short right to Singletary. 16-yard gain. First down and 10. Move the chains. And now we're going to go to second down and 2 at the New England 35. And that will be the 2-minute warning. Minute 54 left, second down and 2 at the New England 35. Let's go, Dart. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Less than 2 minutes to go before this one is over. 33-15 Patriots. Yeah, but that's exactly where they want to be. They don't need to necessarily win the division. They can end up being a sleeper, team, and obviously a team that doesn't really have a defense. But when you got Josh Allen and you got James Cook, anything can happen. And, even though they don't have a defense, I feel like the Bills, could beat pretty much everyone else. Like if you take out the Patriots and the Broncos, and then you look at the Bills playing anybody else in the AFC, even without a defense, it kind of feels like they could end up beating anybody, right? I mean, Bills, versus the Colts, Bills versus the Jags, Bills versus the Texans, even though the Texans D is great, Bills versus Chiefs, Bills versus Chargers. It's like you can pretty much go down Bills versus the Ravens, Bills versus the Steelers, Bills versus the Bengals. Like, regardless on what you get thrown at you, maybe the Chargers and the Texans, maybe would give them the most difficulty, but, again, we've seen also Buffalo play, kind of mediocre and bad football at times. But if Allen and Cook are on, sometimes that's just enough to win games. So thank you so much, man. Whenever you work, you want to make sure you're never at, a zero or a very low number. So again, any, dollar amount can help. And I appreciate it very, very much. That'll help out with Paisley and the channel. So thank you so much. Stacks, racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. $10 holla. And if you got a photo of a favorite player like a Jamal Charles that you want to be able to showcase before the stream is up, let me know, and I got you. Appreciate you. $10 on the Dono train. See if we get another person to add on to the Dono train before the game is over. And I don't really like taking, 2-3 days off, during the week. But if we're not going to get the, support doing the NBA or the NHL, then we just have to just do, NFL and college football until we get into March, obviously. And then we'll be transitioning into baseball and the Mariners. But once we get into February, March, there'll be a little bit of opportunity for the NBA, NHL, and NASCAR. So that'll be the time that we do those, probably at that time. And then, then once we get into March, we'll end up doing baseball from March till, October. So appreciate you, Chief. Every dollar counts. And obviously that'll help with the internet bill, the streaming fee, and obviously taking care of the puppers. Shotgun set by Dart, going deep to Slayton, and complete. And now it's going to be 4th down and 8 at the New England 41. I got you. Good choice. And Dart, incomplete, short middle to Theo Johnson, and that's turnover on downs. And now the game is officially over. Squeeze in a few of these Jamal Charles photos here for Chief. Chief, I appreciate the support. Every dollar counts. Every dollar matters. Jamal Charles type of backs don't grow on trees. I miss him. Very exciting player. And Drake May kneels, loss of 2 as the clock winds down. And from a guy, from Texas that, ended up going to the Chiefs, obviously he just looks natural in that uniform. You know how sometimes when you see certain players and it just looks like it's, made like perfect fit, and I just can't imagine him playing anywhere else. So appreciate you, Rob. Thank you so much, man. Every dollar counts. You want a Sam Darnold photo or 2 before I'm out? Appreciate you. Stacks, racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. And I know a lot of times, sometimes people are waiting on the other person, to start the dono train or someone else to fill the role. But it's always nice when you can take it upon yourself to be able to show some love. And I appreciate you, Chief and Rob, for making this stream a success here at the very, very end. Thank you so much. Let's get a couple Sam Darnold photos up here. And Sam has been very good, for the Hawks. And again, you have to look at, where the NFC sits. The Rams, have a chance to make the Super Bowl. The Seahawks have a chance. The Eagles have a chance. You got the Packers and Lions and the Bears that got a chance. And really the only teams that don't have a chance are the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Buccaneers. But those teams are playing good football right now and could play spoilers. So, anything can happen, and I think that the Buccaneers are the best team out of the three between the Cowboys and the Panthers, but I respect the hell out of those two other teams, and they're starting to play some good ball as of late. I mean, imagine if the Vikings still had Sam Darnold. Give you a dark jersey and a white, jersey for the road. See if I can get one more with like an action shot here for you. Appreciate you. And again, it shows you, sometimes when you are on a bad team like the Jets and you're seeing ghosts, and then you end up finding an opportunity with Minnesota to make a name for yourself, 14-3, even though it didn't go the way they wanted against the Lions, in the playoffs. But again, a very successful season on the Vikings and having a great year, obviously this year with the Hawks. So final score, Patriots 33, Giants 15. The MVP of the streams is definitely Chief and Rob. Appreciate the two of you more than you know. And again, hope you guys enjoy the rest of, tonight and Tuesday and Wednesday as well. I'll be watching the Blazers and rooting for them to win and taking care of the pup. And then we'll be back here on Thursday for Thursday Night Football with a really good one with the Cowboys and Lions that could go either way. And the Lions have been kind of trending downwards. The Cowboys are trending upwards. So it's definitely going to make for some offensive madness. And hopefully we end up getting, like a 38-35 type of game. Like he was mentioning earlier, Showtime. So love you guys and I appreciate you guys very much. Salute to the two of you for stepping up and making this stream a success. I appreciate you. Final score, Patriots 33, Giants 15. Shout out to Rob and Chief Chief. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Okay.